Okay.
Так, еще один момент очень важный. У вас есть наушники. Это будет синхронный перевод с английского на русский, с русского на английский. Задавать вопросы прямо необходимо по-русски, для того, чтобы вас здесь все в зале слышали, коллеги, и, соответственно, переводили только туда уже англоязычную версию нашими переводчиками. Все говорим только по-русски.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Thank you all for being here today. It's a very, very special day. And this day was brought to you by Mr. Scott Ritter. Ain't no cat nowhere like this man. He's a real man of both sides. Former Marine, tough guy, and a man of peace. A man of peace. Could you imagine that? Peace is a dirty word. Not allowed to talk about it. Nobody there. Nope, not a word about peace. Scott Ritter is a fighter and a man about peace, a warrior for peace. And that's what we need. Peace on earth, goodwill to all. Oh, you forgot that one? Hey, how about all you people that sell your religious stuff? Oh, you forgot that line? Yeah. How about thou shalt not kill? Why, how dare you say that? I could kill anybody I want. You know, I'm running a country near you. We need peace on earth, goodwill to all. And Scott Ritter's doing everything he can, as I am. I launched Occupy Peace well over a decade ago to bring peace on earth. And today's a very special day, bringing the people of America to the people of Russia and what's going on in the world. I've been at this trends business for 45 years, and never in my life have I been so concerned about what in the world is going on. Again, not a word about peace. And people have no idea how wars start. And of course, now we got the Israel war ramping up, attacking Iran. Hey, I can kill anybody I want. Don't you know I am? Again, Scott Ritter's a fighter, former Marine. I'm a close combat guy. You only attack the attacker. No, I'm going to attack anybody I want. Don't you know who I am? That's the attitude. And all they do is teach us hate. So here we are at Russia, right? I'm born in 1946, right after the war. A Napolitano from the Bronx. I was scared to death. They had us hiding under a desk because those Russians are going to drop an atom bomb. But you'll be safe hiding under that desk. It doesn't, you're under a desk, you'll be safe. That shows you the stupidity, arrogance, and immorality of the people running the show. A freak show. And it's a freak in a country near you running the show. Every time as a little kid, when I saw an airplane, I was scared to death. I thought the Russians were going to bomb me. And then when I went to high school, they still had us, it was too big to get under the desk. They had us hiding against the wall with our hands behind our head. And then the teachers would say, if you see a flash, don't look at it. If I see a flash, I'll be dust in 8 seconds. And now, it never stopped. All they've ever done with the Cold War and the Ukraine war, hate those Russians. But of course, I fell in love with Svetlana, but we won't talk about that. Oh, she broke my heart. Anyway, I still love the Russians. Mwah. Anyway, the Ukraine war. I'm the publisher of the Trends Journal magazine, weekly magazine. This is the magazine back in 2014. And I'm going to show you the picture over here. There's an old cat. Got to put on my glasses. War or peace. Look how happy that guy is, huh? This is the beginning of Russia's special military operation. Washington is driving the world to the final war. World hegemony is not a right America has earned. This is an article by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, former Assistant Treasury Secretary under Ronald Reagan. I'm just going to read you part of it. Washington concluded that Russia needed to be confronted with or distracted by problems that would leave the Russian government less confident or able to counter Washington's aggression elsewhere. Ukraine presented the perfect opportunity for Washington to advance its hegemonic agenda. In a speech at the National Press Club last December, which was December 2013, Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland boasted that Washington had invested $5 billion in non-governmental organizations in Ukraine for the purpose of, quote, to teach democracy. America's overthrow of the democratically elected government of Viktor Yanukovych. And how come America wanted to get rid of him? Well, not my language, but the language of the European Union. Ukraine is the most corrupt country in Europe. What happened? They've been busted since the end of the Soviet Union. What happened? Yanukovych was going to make a deal with the EU and the IMF, the International Mafia, Monetary Fund. And Putin said, I got a better deal for you. I'll lower your oil prices and I'll give you a lower interest rate. How dare you? What are you kidding? Victoria Nuland, caught on the telephone with a little boy of nothing with a pair of cojones smaller than a small ball, Jeffrey Pyatt, the former ambassador of the United States to UN. F-U-C, in the other word, the EU, we're putting Yats in there. Little boy Yatsenuk, brought to you by the United States of America. And the Azovs, no, we won't talk about that. Nobody knows about that. Oh, the Nazi group? Yeah. Oh, and the bombing of Donbass after that only killed about 15,000 people? No, we don't report that. Tracking trends is the understanding of where we are, how we got here, and where we're going. This is from the magazine, again, 2014.
Так, поднимите, пожалуйста,
See this
руку, кому не
picture?
слышна сейчас
Yep.
русская речь. Никто не остановил.
Soci-Olympics.
Помогите, пожалуйста, какой?
Leading up to the Soci-Olympics,
Канал номер один.
this is
Переключите на
prior
канал номер
this is
один.
prior to the overthrow of Yatsenyuk.
Слышна русская речь теперь?
Yanukovych.
Отлично.
Is it
Всё, давайте.
Yanukovych, right? Yeah. Leading up to the Soci-Olympics, media and government officials, official pieces of crap, warned of a looming attacks, hotels in disrepair, filth, yellow drinking water, and homophobes everywhere. The propaganda campaign primed America to view Russia unfavorably. This is what they did before they did the overthrow. They got the American people to hate it. Again, this is in the magazine that you're not going to find anywhere else because all the American media are a bunch of prostitutes, media whores that get paid to put out by their corporate pimps and government whoremasters, just to make it clear. This is an article, again. What we do is we put the facts in there and tell you to think for yourself. Security expert, it's not if, but when for Sochi Olympics terror attack.
Скажите, пожалуйста, у всех на единицы
Veteran
английская
security consultant Bill Rathborn, or is it Crapborn, hopes that he's wrong. about the upcoming Winter Olympics in Russia. But he's more than a hunch that he's not. The security threat, is a quote, is higher than it's ever been in the history of the Olympic Games, Rathbone said. In my opinion, it's not a matter of whether there will be some incident. It's a matter of how bad it's going to be. That's the propaganda that they sold the American people before they overthrew the government. We go on to say the propaganda campaign was a resounding success. U.S. TV ratings fell 12% from those for the Winter Olympics in Vancouver 4 years earlier. A Gallup poll in early February showed 60% of Americans viewed Russians unfavorably, the most since 1994, while 63% viewed Putin unfavorably. Thus, when the Ukraine crisis erupted, American minds had already been pre-programmed by propaganda. Facts would not get in the way. The stage for war and hate had been masterfully set. So there we are. We need peace on earth, goodwill to all. We're human beings. And united we stand, divided we die. It does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brushfires of freedom in the minds of men, said Samuel Adams, one of our founding fathers. And here we are in Kingston, New York, where the seeds of democracy were sown.
Все отлично.
The most historic four corners in America. Kingston was the first capital of New York State before the British bombed it after the Battle of Saratoga. The Constitution, I went to jury duty, the guy putting it on said, the Constitution that was written for New York State when Kingston was the capital, over 70% of America's Constitution comes from the Constitution that was written here. The seeds of democracy were sown here, and that's why we're here. We are true American patriots in the spirit of our founding fathers, and Scott Ritter is the top of the top of peace, freedom, love, joy, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Scott Ritter.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction, Gerald, and thank you for providing this outstanding venue. As Gerald said, you know, I have a military background, and I was trained to oppose Russia. Later on in my life, I learned how to communicate with Russia by meeting Russians. And that's what we're going to try to do here today, is facilitate a dialogue, a conversation between the United States and Russia on the 40th anniversary of a similar endeavor between Phil Donahue and Vladimir Posner, the space bridge. So it's an honor and privilege to have you here today to be participating in this event. And I look forward to it. Hey, Pavel, over to you, man. Tell us what's going on in St. Petersburg.
Так, здравствуйте,
So,
Kingston.
good day, Kingston. Please show yourself. We cannot see you.
Видите ли вы нас?
Can you see us?
Scott?
Scott,
Видите, отлично.
you see us, right?
Yep, we
Отлично.
can see you.
Супер.
Great, super.
Scott,
So, Scott,
Санкт-Петербурга.
from St. Petersburg,
Приветствуем вас.
we would like welcome you.
Санкт-Петербург это второй
St. Petersburg
по величине
is the
город
second
России. Это
second large
город,
city
который
in Russia.
известен
It is a city well known with its museums, parks, fountains in its suburbs, which is called Peterhof Fountains. And actually, I should say that it's a city of several revolutions, which we actually do not like, being honest, but it's also one of the features of the city. And today, we would like to welcome you from here from that wonderful, beautiful city. And in advance, we would like you to invite you visit us to see the city. And now we would like to hear a little bit about Kingston. What is interesting or famous you can tell us about Kingston? Please, Scott.
Well, thank you, Pavel. As Gerald indicated, Kingston is one of the most historic crossroads in America. It's the birthplace of the New York Constitution, but that is 70% of the American Constitution. And we live in a constitutional republic where the Constitution defines who we are and what we are as a nation. So this is a big deal. Where we are today in the Mohican market, we're surrounded by history. I mean, we have buildings down the road that date back to the 1700s, 1800s. But more importantly, this is Americana. You know, when you guys take a look at the United States, you see Hollywood, you see New York City, you see the glamour and the glitz. But in between these two cities is the real America. That's what you have here today in the Mohican market in the Stockade district of Kingston, New York. This is real America. This is where real Americans reside, real Americans work, real Americans labor, and where real Americans are dedicated to pursuit of peace. We have an audience today comprised of fellow Americans, people who are committed to the cause of peace, true patriots who believe that America is defined not by military might, but our ability to cooperate and get along with one another. So there it is, Kingston, New York. Back to you, Pavel.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Scott. And we actually can see some views of Kingston. Thanks a lot for that. And I'd like now to address to absolutely all who not only hear us or see us during this streaming, but even to those who watches us all over the world. We do hope that they will see how regular thing to overcome, to so to say, press someone's opinions. There will be no losers for sure at our event, at our, let's say, online conference. A dialogue is a thing, as one famous journalist, Vladimir Pozner, said, a dialogue is when you need to come down from your own, so to say, tower, to come up to the tower of another person and to look at what's going on by the eyes of another person. It's the most complicated thing, because when I talk with my friends or colleagues, and if their opinion is not similar to mine, then actually from the very beginning I'd like to prove and to change the point of view of my counterpart who looks at me. And it's really, really hard work to do, to walk in the shoes of another person, because to understand this person you need to know that this person was grown, was raised in another context. This person has absolutely different experience, and that's why we might admit that this person talks or thinks a bit different, a little bit different, or maybe a considerable bit different. I'm sorry to say that. This person might have absolutely different opinion. It could be absolutely different to yours, and we need to remember that today. So here in this room we have, let's say, we have all honorary guests here, and I'm really grateful to everybody who gathered here in Russia and in the States. But there are several persons to whom we would like to give the floor first. First of all, I would like to give a floor to Sergei Shurygin. Sergei Shurygin is a president. Dear colleagues, I will call you colleagues because we are colleagues in that dialogue. So, Sergei Shurygin is the president of the Society of Russian-American Friendship and Business Relationship, and I would like to give a floor to him first. So, Sergei, please. Thank you. We're really glad to see you. I'm absolutely sincere saying that. It's from my heart. It's, you know, dear, respected, good, wise, and brave people who came to have a dialogue, which we haven't got for a long while. And I think that it's an absolutely historical point in time. And I'm turning to both Russian and American audience. The Society of Friendship would be 10 years already. It has great traditions, and a bit later we'll tell you about our suggestions. Maybe they would be interesting for you. It's not as a part of Russian-American relationships, but even in a wider sense, in the format of UN or UNESCO or other countries. It is, like Scott have said at the very beginning, it is in the context of peaceful, positive strategies. Well, surely we should say separate words of gratitude to such new leaders we've got here, like Pavel, who decided to recreate the format of such relationships, and I think it would be a permanent event, and we will have many opportunities to communicate. The Russian society has been registered in Moscow. We came as a big team from Moscow to St. Petersburg, and we have people from different countries. We have American citizens here. They all are members of our society. They participate in cultural dialogues and business projects. They do business because such great powers and such wise people from the other side, and those who are presented here in this audience, they can make successful these projects and even new projects. You have, for instance, Elon Musk. He's American and from South American origin, and I think he has Canadian citizen. And we have female Musk. It was actually acknowledged in New York by the 72nd General Assembly of the UN. But maybe a camera will show this person to the American audience. It's really a woman, and she, as Pavel said, she participates in sort of a business collaboration on a rather high level, and I do agree with Pavel. I will give a microphone back to him that it should not be fighting, it shouldn't be something like that. It should be kind of a good, nice dialogue. What I know about Kingston, and I will tell it to the Russians, and you might check my knowledge, that that's truly the constitution in Kingston was adopted earlier than in New York, and the basics of the New York constitution were, so to say, made in that real, in this place where real Americans do live with real American roots, so to say. We welcome you here, and we do hope for a good and interesting dialogue here. And I would like to give the microphone back to Pavel. Thanks a lot, Sergey. Scott, actually, we have other people to give to talk to, but first we would like to give a microphone to you, and then we'll come back give talks to our honorary guests. So, Scott, please, the floor is yours.
Very much. We have a wonderful, diverse audience here today. We have educators, we have former police officers. We might even have a couple FBI guys sprinkled in the audience. We don't know. But the bottom line is this is a slice of America here. But we are honored today to have a very special guest. Dennis Kucinich is a 16-year veteran of the United States Congress. He represented the 16th District of Ohio. Dennis, I'm going to let Dennis talk, but understand that he was one of the guys back in the Cold War that got relations between the United States and the Soviet Union, United States and Russia up and running at great personal risk and great personal cost. So Dennis Kucinich is a true American hero, and it's an honor and privilege to have him here with us today.
Thank you very much. Scott Ritter. Добрый вечер, мои братья и сестры.
Good evening, my brothers and
Good evening,
sisters.
my brothers and sisters. And I want to thank you very much for this opportunity to show the commonalities that we have, to show how much Americans, the American people, and the Russian people are alike. Now, I've had the opportunity to visit Russia a dozen times and to meet people at every level of the society, from people riding the streetcars and being in the markets, from people who were scientists in the military, as well as the government. So I have a pretty good view of Russian society. I also have had the opportunity to serve as mayor of the city of Cleveland at a very young age. I was America's youngest mayor years before I became a congressman. So I understand the basic needs of people, that people want economic security. They want decent health care. They want education for their children. They want safe communities. These are common aspirations that we all have, and that meetings like this give us a chance to prove how much we have in common. You know, the human genome theory says that human beings are 99.9% made of the same stuff. I think the dialogue that we'll have this evening will show how much we have in common. Now, I did not come into politics because someone bought my way in. I grew up in the city of Cleveland in a family of 7. We lived in 21 different places by the time I was 17, including a couple cars. I understand what people go through. This is why I've connected so deeply with the Russian people, because their struggle has been one of the most important struggles in recent human history. 30 million people lost in World War II. Families that still suffer from those losses, that still have the memory of those losses. When I go from Sheremetyevo Airport into the city, you know, you can see the bravery of the Russian people expressed in those giant crosses that are along the highway that show where the Russian army stopped the Nazis. The Russian people are brave, strong, they should be admired, and they should be included as our brothers and sisters. So this evening, we have an opportunity to speak to our commonalities. We have an opportunity to show that peace, mir, is who we are and who we should be. And so I just want to say, Scott, thank you for this chance to be able to bring us together for the purposes of mirroring each other, mirroring our aspiration. We may have different politics, but when you get underneath it all, we're all human beings trying to live our lives out in peace and happiness, and it's our job in America to make sure that our government lives up to our Constitution. So thank you very much, and I look forward to the questions. Thanks, Scott.
Скотт, спасибо большое.
Thanks a lot.
Я бы хотел сейчас
I'd
передать
like
еще
now
слово.
to give a floor
Очень, я
to
считаю,
another.
я не могу сказать необычным
I cannot say
гостем. На самом деле,
unusual, so to say,
кажется,
guest,
те, которые
but it
именно
seems
должны были
these are
присутствовать,
guests
или
which
вот Россия,
who had to
США,
come to
у нас
this to our Russian American event.
двое людей,
We have in studio. We
муж и
have
жена,
two persons here, husband and wife, who participated in this breach of 1985 Leningrad Citadel. I think, Scott, it should be a surprise for you. We found them really yesterday. So I would like to give a floor
а что именно,
and to ask
как на них это повлияло, как они
how it
оказались,
affected
во-первых,
them.
на этом телемосту,
First of all,
и как
how they managed to come to that
повлиял,
event,
если такое влияние вообще было.
and how this
Пожалуйста, Юрий
conference
Новиков,
actually
его супруга,
influenced them.
пожалуйста.
So Yuri Novikov and his wife, please.
Добрый день, уважаемые
Good day,
друзья.
dear friends.
Необычно
It
позвонил
is very It was very unusual event. My good friend called me yesterday and told me, "We found you." Where? And he sent me the photo from that Russian-American event. I'm 62 now. I was very young those days, and it was very unusual. There was no television bridges those years. It was the first conference due to my wife, who had some relationships to the television, and I became famous in literally in 10 days. I can open up the secret for you. No one would punish me. I'm going to be a pensioner soon. So those days I was in military service, and I came to the city for retraining. And my wife asked me to visit this place. And are they going to show it? I asked her, and she said, "No, no, no. No one will see it. It will be kind of a closed story." It was shown all over the Soviet Union on TV, and everybody saw me in the army, so I became famous among my friends and in the army and my regiment, so to say. And now I'd like to give the floor to my wife.
When people say that Peter the Great just cut the window to Europe, we can compare that Bridge to that window. That was the first opportunity for us to just communicate with those people who lived in a different continent and about whom we knew very little by that time. And of course, Leningrad of that days prepared for quite a long period of time for that Bridge. We wanted to show how good we were, how we were politically informed and aware, and what morality we had. Of course, in the audience we had academia, we had workers and actors, and some part was allocated for the young people who would be living in the beautiful times when St. Petersburg and the United States would be friends. And I was about to graduate from the Leningrad State University. I was invited to be interviewed for that show because you needed to be an outstanding person, like belonging to the Komsomol, politically aware and with good morality and moral qualities. And so I got that interview because I should have been also prepared for very uneasy questions from the American side, and I should have known how to answer them. So it happened so that I was the participant of that Bridge, and we were just married, newlyweds at that time, and he was serving his time in the army, and he graduated. Before that, he graduated from the Department of International Relations. It was very interesting for him, professionally speaking, and for us, it was just a discovery of the new world.
Спасибо.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Scott. Now, again, we are going to pass the microphone to you. And then, Scott, the floor is yours.
First of all, congratulations on your long and successful marriage. That's quite an accomplishment. So that's from my heart. I'm also jealous that you guys are in St. Petersburg. I had the opportunity to be in St. Petersburg over the winter of 2023-2024. Lived my lifelong dream of getting a photograph next to the Iron Horseman statue. But I certainly wish that I could be there with you in person, but it's good to be here connected in this manner. I'd like to introduce a fellow warrior for peace, Diane Sayre. She's somebody who has run for office several times, but that's not how I got to know her. I got to know Diane because she believes in peace, but more importantly, not more importantly, there's nothing more important than peace. But I would say, in terms of my personal enlightenment, Diane is quite a cultured person. So Diane, I'd like you to stand up and introduce yourself to the crowd and maybe tell them a little bit about your own personal link with Russia.
Thank you so much, and very glad to be here. And I met Scott actually when I was running for U.S. Senate as an independent candidate for peace. But I am also a musician by training. And when I received the news of the horrible plane crash in 2016, which took the Alexandrov Ensemble, my chorus went immediately to the Russian consulate and sang the national anthem, which we scrambled to learn. And then we held a memorial at the teardrop statue, which was a gift from Russia to the United States right after 9/11, done by the Russian sculptor Tsereteli. And we were joined actually by the ceremonial unit of the New York Police Department, because we learned that the Alexandrov Ensemble on the 10th anniversary of 9/11 had presented God Bless America to the New York ceremonial chorus at a military tattoo in Montreal. So I am really happy to be with you, and I think culture is something very much that can bring us together.
Thank you very much. Pavel, I'm transferring the mic back to you, pal.
Скотт, спасибо большое.
Scott, thank you very much. Indeed,
Культура — это одна из
culture
тех вещей,
is one of
которая
those
нас точно
things
объединяет.
which
Я уверен, что мы
joins us,
коснемся.
unites us, and I'm pretty
Сейчас
sure that we shall
вот
come
к
back
нам
to culture. And
присоединилась,
now we
доктор,
have Dr.
Карин Кнайсель.
Corinne Kneissel.
Доктор Карин Кнайсель
Dr.
является
Corinne
руководителем
Kneissel is a
Центра
head of
Горки
the
в
Gorky Center in
Санкт-Петербурге
St.
и
Petersburg,
экс-министром
and she is an
иностранных дел
ex-minister
Австрии.
of
Доктор
foreign
Карин
affairs
Кнайсель
of
неоднократно
Austria. For several times
различных медиа
in different media
высказывалась в
sources, she
поддержку
talked in support
улучшения взаимоотношений
of
между
improving
Россией
relationships
и Америкой.
between America
И
and
мы
Russia.
очень признательны
And we are very
вам,
grateful
доктор
to
Карин
you,
Кнайсель, что вы к нам
Dr.
смогли
Corinne Kneissel, that
присоединиться.
you managed to
Сегодня,
join us today.
доктор Карин Кнайсель
Dr. Corinne Kneissel
отработала полностью на Петербургском международном
worked at the
экономическом
St.
форуме
Petersburg
и смогла
Economic Forum
присоединиться
the
к нам.
whole day, and she
Пожалуйста.
joined us now.
Good evening, Mr. Ritter. Good evening, добрый вечер, дорогие гости. Я говорю, это лучше, если говорю по-английски, если это удобно.
I will speak English. It's much more convenient for me, and it's convenient for my guests, for our guests. Well, I speak Arabic better than Russian for now, but in 2 or 3 years from now, I will speak better
Good evening,
Russian.
ladies and gentlemen. On the other side, we just crossed through the rain. There was a horrible traffic jam, but we came. Let me just put in a nutshell my little experience as a Minister of Foreign Affairs of Austria, where honestly I never ever had a single problem with Washington. Of course, it was not easy to speak to Mr. Pompeo. He always had Nord Stream 2 on his mind. But my contacts, whether it was with the US ambassador, whether it was with officials in the State Department as a minister, I personally never was put under any sort of pressure. And I mention that because there often is this perception as if you get calls by Washington and they put you under pressure. I never received any such call, honestly. Nobody ever put me under pressure. However, I had not daily but weekly problems with the European Commission. I often felt reminded of my times at boarding school when you had those teachers in the morning who teach you, but there is a very nasty teacher in the afternoon whom you have to ask when you can go to the toilet, when you can go out to play or whatever. It was like a gouvernante, you know, and the European Commission has the tendency to tell you as an adult, as a minister of a sovereign country, no, Mrs. Kneissel, you're not supposed to travel to Syria. You're not supposed to talk to this or that person on the phone. This was my experience. So when it comes now to the broader relations between the United States and the Russian Federation, I see the return of symmetry, if I may say. There was, sorry to be a little bit harsh, but there was a lot of romantic illusion in Russia, among many Russians, which is very heartwarming, this romantic perception of Europe. People speak in very good terms of Germany, of Austria. It's romantic. And there is no symmetry between Russia and Germany. There is no symmetry between European Union and Russia as such. Whom to talk to? Who is the counterpart for a Russian government, for a Russian president? Who is the counterpart? While between the big actors, United States and Russia, it makes more sense in terms of geography. Big powers. And I may conclude with a little memory of June 2001, exactly 24 years ago. I had the opportunity to attend the summit between President Putin and the then President George Bush. It was very interesting because President Bush had his first journey to Europe. He had been traveling from Stockholm via London, Brussels, Rome. Finally, after 8 days of very intense traveling, meeting dozens of representatives from relatively small countries. He comes to a smaller country called Slovenia, and he meets President Putin. It was in June 2001. The United States back then was the invulnerable power. It was before 9/11. It was before all sorts of economic setbacks. And President Bush said something which back then amused me. I apologize. 24 years later, I understand it in a different way. He said in his first opening remarks, President Putin and I, we got a lot in common. We both run a big country. I remember that. So it's the symmetry. He said, we both have 2 daughters, and we both believe in God. I did not understand his remarks back then, but I must say with 24 years of distance, in the current environment in which we are, there is less burden of history when it comes to the relations Russia and US, and there is more symmetry in general. And I will conclude on that, and we can engage in other questions later on. Very happy to be at your disposal for any sort of debate. Thank you very much.
Спасибо. Спасибо большое. Скотт, я предлагаю сейчас перейти
Now, Scott,
к диалогу.
I suppose we can
Но
move on to
буквально
the
еще одну
dialogue.
секунду, это
Just
очень
one
важно
more
перед
thing,
диалогом.
one more second before
Вы
we start the
знаете, я бы
dialogue.
хотел спросить
I'd like to
сейчас
ask
граждан Америки, вы
citizens
можете
of
нам
America,
немножко
can you
рассказать вашу точку зрения,
say
что
a couple of
значит
words
по-американски
stating your
свобода
position?
слова?
What does it
Потому
mean,
что
freedom
мне
of
кажется,
word, freedom of speech,
что
as you
мы
understand
несколько,
it?
не
Because
только
it seems to
русские, но
me
и
that
другие
we,
страны,
not only
несколько
we
по-своему
Russians,
ее
but other countries as well,
воспринимаем. И, возможно, даже
understand it
неверно
differently,
воспринимаем.
maybe
С
even in
моей
a wrong
точки
way.
зрения личной,
As I see it
свобода
personally,
слова
freedom of
это не то,
speech
что я
is
хочу,
not
что говорю, что хочу,
something
когда
that I,
хочу и где
that I
хочу.
say what I want,
Это еще
when I want,
плюс
and where I want.
ответственность за
That
то,
also means
что ты
responsibility
говоришь.
for
Может быть,
what
я
you
не
say.
прав. Пожалуйста,
Maybe I'm
Скотт.
wrong. Scott, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Pavel. When we speak of freedom of speech in America, understand that this is the core value, one of the central core values of what defines us as a people. Freedom of speech doesn't mean correct speech. And with the exception of standing up in a theater and shouting fire, freedom of speech doesn't necessarily mean responsible speech. Why? Because in our culture, we, the people of the United States of America, must be free to hold our government accountable for what it does in our name. We must be free to express ourselves in any way we want to. We cannot have authority preventing us from speaking our mind about the issues of the day, even if the majority of people might disagree with this. I've always said that as somebody who believes in the Constitution, I may disagree with what you have to say vehemently. I may actually find what you're saying be hateful and harmful, but I will give my life to guarantee that you have the right to say it. Because in America, it's not about the suppression of ideas. If I disagree with your ideas, it's my duty and responsibility to come up with better ideas and to convince people that what I'm saying should carry more weight. But that's the broad issue of free speech. I think you hit something on the head, though. You know, there's a fine line between civil discussion and chaos, a fine line between civility and disharmony. Yes, I can have free speech and say things, but maybe if I say the wrong things at the wrong time, I become disruptive. See, one of the key aspects of civil dialogue, such as what we're here promoting here today, is to be responsible in our speech, meaning that I'm not here to insult you. I'm not here to try to score debate points. I'm not here to demonstrate my superiority. What I'm here to do is explain my position to you as politely and thoroughly as possible. And this is one of the constant struggles we have here in the United States about free speech, because oftentimes when we practice free speech, we end up creating a very disruptive environment. And so therefore it's incumbent upon the citizens of the United States of America to embrace free speech, but to embrace it responsibly. And that's what we're going to do here today. We're going to have a conversation with you, a dialogue with you, a discussion with you. We may say things that you disagree with, and that's okay. And you may give answers to us that we disagree with. That's okay too. That's how we learn about one another. And then we continue to promote this discussion. And what you'll find is a lot of the disagreement probably hinges from cultural differences, historical differences, differences of perspective based upon the fact that we don't know each other very well. But one of the things I hope that happens here today is that we get to know you better and you get to know us better. And what you'll find is when we break down that wall of that distance of, lack of intimacy, we're going to find out we're very much alike. I'll just finish with one little story of my life. As I said, I was a Marine Corps officer. I was trained to fight the Soviet army. In 1988, I was sent to Votkinsk to implement a treaty, the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty. And when I arrived there, I viewed the Soviet people, the Russians, as my enemy. And I viewed them with hostility. But we had to learn to work with one another. This was a treaty that required us to work together. And slowly we learned to have a working relationship. But it wasn't a human relationship, not until New Year's Eve. On New Year's Eve, I was invited into the home of a Soviet engineer from the factory. He brought me into his home. He introduced me to his wife. He introduced me to his children. His neighbors came over, and we sat down and we had a dialogue. I got to see them as human beings. We told jokes. We laughed. We cried. And when it was done, we got up, left the house, went to the city square where the New Year's tree was, and we sang songs, and we got to meet people. It was one of the most beautiful moments of my life. And I left that experience saying, I don't want to be enemies with these people. I want to be friends with these people. And that's what it takes, though. It takes that human connection. And that's what I'm hoping we establish here today. A human connection based upon responsible dialogue, civil dialogue, free speech. Over to you, Pavel. Over.
Спасибо большое, Scott.
Scott. Now we've got the first part, questions from 1985. We're going to turn on questions, and we'll start with the Soviet audience. Young person will ask you a question, and we would like to, and you'll try to answer this question. We hope for one, maybe three comments, and then we'll see what Americans answer this question those days in 1985 to compare the answers. But before that, I would like to say the following. I think it's a very important thing, because the Western mass media, 100%, and we should say this telebridge today was initiated today by the Russian party, but no matter what Russian side is doing, is it some state funds, public funds, or private initiatives like today, there's always must be some of propaganda there, because everybody expects that. So we should give, surely, this propaganda to the Western mass media, and I could tell you that there would be a propaganda. There would be propaganda of the dialogue. And so we're gonna focus on that propaganda. So please, may I have the first question on screen? What
for the sake of peace? Give us at least 3.
Ну вот вам такой вопрос.
So, that's a question to you guys.
To repeat the question because we couldn't understand it. What was the question real quick?
Что, давайте я повторю, что
Repeat it.
сделало ваше
What your
правительство
government
для
has done
мира на земле?
for a peace on
Назовите
the
хотя бы
earth.
3.
Tell
Как
us
молодой
at
человек
least
сказал, ну, по
3,
крайней мере, хотя бы одну вещь.
well, maybe
Ну,
at least
ну, если
one
вы
thing,
говорите 3,
but
то
if you tell us 3 things, it would be real great.
пожалуйста.
All right. Guys, this is our chance to shine. We've been given a challenge. What has the United States government done to pursue peace? Who here thinks they've got an answer? Raise your hand. Anybody? One person. What has our government done to pursue peace? Yes, sir.
They've done nothing. They've existed on war, an endless war, since I was born. I was born during the Korean War. I've lived through every war they've had, and that's all they've done. They do not promote peace, and that's our problem.
Well, there it is. That's a honest answer. Let's try and get something a little bit more positive. We'll go over here.
Richard Nixon engaged the Chinese, and the Chinese are very responsible global citizens and are working for peace.
Okay, there we go, Richard Nixon. Now, look, I'm going to take a stab at this because I'm the father of twin daughters, one of whom served in the Peace Corps. That means she went overseas and she spent 2.5 years of her life working to promote peace, working to promote dialogue. And that is something that the U.S. government does to promote peace. I want to remind people that our Constitution doesn't say the government of the United States. It says we, the people of the United States of America, and in many ways, shapes, and form, we are the government. So what do we do to promote peace? We're doing it right now, doing it right here today with this dialogue. Over to you, Pavel.
Спасибо. Спасибо большое. Это аплодисменты.
Slot. A round of applause for you guys. So let's listen to the second question. I'm not quite sure to whom this
Maybe there are
question
other
was.
topics we could discuss here, and then we'd really get to know each other better, and we'd get to understand each other better.
Ну, на самом деле,
Well,
здесь советская женщина сказала,
here this Soviet woman said we talked a lot here about the politics and so on and so forth, but maybe let's talk about things which unite us. We will talk for that, sure enough, a bit later, but maybe let's look. You see, what was interesting, what was the answer, what was the answer to the first question in 1985? Please let us hear
I
it.
think that we're all in accord on those 3 particular items and why we have to do that. I think the problem is, how do we go about making sure we both do it at the same time?
Сейчас, когда был
So
перевод,
now, when there
почему-то я
was
не
a
слышал русскую речь.
translation, there was
Пожалуйста,
no
повторите
Russian.
нам
Can
еще раз
we have
русскую
the
речь.
translation in the Russian channel
I
1?
think that we're all in accord on those 3 particular items and why we have to do that. I think the problem is, how do we go about making sure we both do it at the same time?
Вот такой комментарий. Я прошу, если
That's a
кто-то хочет
comment.
прокомментировать.
So if you would like to comment on that both countries have to do something with that regard. Anyone would like to comment on that?
Пожалуйста, вот
Sergey, yes, please.
можно я к вам подойду? Вот
I would like to come up to you.
становиться вот именно так.
I should
держать.
stand like that, and I will hold the mic. Well, it's real easy. We should remember that in the Second World War, and look at its results, we did lots of good things for Nazism, not to allow Nazism to, so to say, to win, to overcome. Then it was peaceful collaboration in space, and that's another thing. Then there were initiatives, because it was 1985. It's a question 1985. Before 1985, there were peaceful initiatives on out-of-block, so to say, configurations. I mean, it is economy and military collaboration. There were lots of things, and culture, as it was said, there was lots of interactions those days. So then, after that comment, maybe then let's listen to the third question.
Мы не хотим войны.
We don't want war, and you know that. But someone in your country, they would like to have propaganda against us, and you force people to make propaganda against us. So tell us who. So who can? So there's a question from the Russian citizen, to whom who has advantages from that propaganda of war. I have a question. Why we're here? We're for peace, but who can gain something of propaganda of war?
We have a disease we call Russophobia. It's infected us nationally. That is a disease of the irrational fear of Russia, and it is generated by the ignorance of Russia. That's why what we're doing today is so important, because we're breaking down that wall of ignorance. But that's my opinion. We got a whole audience here. Who here wants to talk about anti-Russian propaganda or propaganda in general, how the United States shapes the minds of the American people about the Russian nation, the Russian government, and the Russians in general? I mean, look at Hollywood. Every single Russian character is sort of a drunk, a bad man, mafia. I don't think the audience there is composed of drunks, bad people, or mafiosos. Don't prove me wrong, Pavel. But who here thinks they have, some perspective on Russophobia and propaganda? Garland Nixon, I'd like to invite you up here to the mic. And sorry, man. And if you could speak there.
Hello, Garland Nixon, and former Sputnik radio analyst. I'd like to say that there is good news, and the good news is that polls were taken over the last few years about the attitudes of Americans towards Russia, and there was a dramatic change in the last few months. There were polls taken in February that we had initially like 80% of Americans viewed Russia as an enemy, as an adversary. The polls in February and March changed to 60 to 65% viewed them as an ally. The numbers dramatically changed. So the good news is that because of alternative media, because of events such as this, and the truth about the beauty of the Russian culture and the greatness of Russia as a civilization, that the truth quickly has been able to shine through, and we believe that as people are better informed and as we continue to interact with events such as this, that those numbers will continue to change. Thank you.
Спасибо.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your answers. So let's try the next question then. Yes, please,
and we have the phrase in America, the American dream. And for some, it means financial independence. For others, the ability to go literally from the log cabin to the White House. My students want to know, what is the Russian dream?
A question which was asked by Americans to us. There was such a thing, such a notion as American dream. So, do we have a Russian dream? What are your dreams, dear participants? Please raise your hands. You can tell us what is your dream.
Yes, you're welcome. Good, I don't know what is there in America. Good evening, good afternoon. My name is Andrei Noskov. I'm an actor. And the question, and I suppose that I will be supported by the audience, it's a difficult question for us. We have a fairy tale about the golden fish with the 3 wishes that it can make come true. And there is a joke. You catch, a man caught it, and the first actually wish that he made was a flatted Dutcher and money. So, in one. So every every person dreams about many things. We have a particular feature of character here in Russia. We want actually to earn all the money at once and just live happily ever after. Maybe I'm revealing secrets, but we love working, don't get it wrong. And we know how to do this. And at the same time, we can be lazy bones. And it's very important for the dialogue. That's our national feature. I hope that I have not offended the Russian souls. Well, okay, dear members of the audience, anybody else who would like to take the question and speak about the Russian dream? Well, I have been referred to Elon Musk, as Elon Musk, but actually I'm not. I'm Olga, but I do deal with the space programs in Russia, and I also look into the matters of what is happening with the planet. Me, as a mom, I just want the planet to go on, to continue its existence, because there are many problems with the planet, with the environment. And any person actually wants to live on a beautiful and clean planet and to be happy on a beautiful planet of Earth, because this is the only planet which is appropriate for human beings to live on. Okay, I will fetch the microphone to one more person. Maxim Necheparenko. I'm a software developer. Well, it's probably not an answer to the question, but just a comment. I would like to continue this playful approach to this question. I suppose that we are self-ironic in many ways, and we like it about ourselves. And it's very important that, despite anything at all, we try not to be we try to be ironic and joke. And again, I would like to tell you a joke. It's some sort of joke. It's not. It's okay that your shed has burned to ashes. It's more interesting that your neighbor's actually is still there. Well, I suppose that's interesting. I suppose we can answer this question. I'm an adult, more advanced generation, and a young man also will respond the same question from a different generation. I represented Russia in NATO, starting from 2005 to 2011, when we were trying not just to be in the dialogue, but we were trying to be friends. I'm a scientist myself, a mathematician. I'm a programmer, and the problems that the whole planet came across, and I actually supported. And we were trying to find solutions to myriads of problems with health, oceans, problems of how to live, how to expand, what good and new things to create, and how to learn about this universe, in which, for one moment, we just found ourselves in this universe at the same moment, at the same instance. And this question about a dream, not about a flat, a car, but a dream of living this life in a cool manner, leaving behind something to your children and grandchildren, not in cars and flats, but in something created for people, in the open universe, in a new law, in a greatly created, architecturally created house. Not just for your family, but for many families. At the moment, I'm working with Autobahn as a company. They're trying to create such a quality of the road that would be existent for many, many decades after us. That's what we're dreaming about. And the fact that we need to eat and breathe just to be alive, and use your phone and drive a car and be just safe at home. Oh, it's just natural, but it's not our dream. That's not our aim and target in our lives. That's from my generation. Thank you very much. I would like to say that you know there are different dreams, first and foremost, from different generations and different people. And when you already have a flat and a car, then I suppose you want something like we have organized now, a dialogue between countries. But our primary needs, primary necessities, I would agree with Andrei, they come first, and only then, I suppose, we can dream about something else. But now let's pass the microphone to this young man representing another generation, as it was promised. Dear friends, Americans, I'm very happy to see you. And indeed, when we speak about a dream, we must speak about something very big. I'm a father of 4, and of course my dream is for them to live in a different world, when they can travel around this planet freely, not being afraid for their security or lives. Communicate with any person from any continent of this world. And of course, I dream not to leave this world for them, not destroyed by war, without this ongoing tragedy when our country fights, poor against the poor. The goods and the food are enough for the whole mankind. Let's do something great together. But we need to communicate not by the dialogue, by joint projects, by working together. Let's plan something together and do it. Get down to it. We are going to move on to the next question now, but I will approach Andrei because he wants to correct probably his joke. No, I'm not going to correct what I have said. I have started talking with humor, and I suppose humor is one of the Russian features. But, we are just having a dialogue here just between ourselves. Then I'll explain my humor. A Russian person is a dreamer. He's a daydreamer by nature, and he wants to embrace everything. All of us sitting here, we dream about different things, but we want a lot at the same time. That's something about Russian soul. We dream about everything in one go. It's just a flat, a car, and a dacha. It's just a joke, but it illustrates our feature of being daydreamers. And our dreams are usually very positive. And there is only one proof to that. We always, in any situation, saying goodbye, saying hello. We, in very difficult situations, even to our friends, to our mothers, to even a stranger, we say, everything is going to be all right. And that's our dream. Everything is going to be fine. Okay, dear colleagues, the next question, please. Let's look at the screen.
My question is in regards to racial issues. There seems to be still a lot of racial discrimination in the U.S. It's not talked about, but it's there. It's very strong, especially in major cities. For example, in Seattle, there's an area in which there's a high concentration of minorities, and then you have places like Bellevue, which is as white as snow. And I was just wondering, how is it in the USSR, like, say, for Asians? Is there racial distinction, say, in living areas? How is racial discrimination in the USSR?
Well, I would like to answer this question, and then we would listen to the answer that was given back in 1985. So, what about racial discrimination in Russia? My name is Ludwig, and I have a certain experience of living in the United States, a couple of decades. I was born in Russia, and I would like to speak about my experience of living in the USSR. I would say that it was the most correct system that was ever created by mankind. And at the moment, we're still inert to render this experience and compare experience of living in a multinational society. And these two cultures, United States and USSR, they were closest to one another. We were very different. We have similar strivings, and I suppose that Mr. Scott will speak a little bit more about the strivings of the Americans. Our colleagues spoke about our dreams, but I suppose that back in the Soviet Union, the main slogan was striving for peace. And I would like to ask a question. Many friends of mine in America, even the Russian-speaking ones, under the influence of the propaganda that we have just been discussing, think that our country, our nation, wants to destroy the whole world, to capture all the neighboring countries. We know this propaganda, but my question is to Scott, what do you think? How can we re-establish this dialogue, the one that we had in the 80s, the one that was destroyed, and how to re-establish those bridges that we once mounted in the 80s? Scott, can you answer this question?
Well, I'll give it the old college try. You know, a key aspect of human, a key dimension of human relationship is trust. You know, it's easy to have a conversation. I can have a conversation with anybody. The question is, are you going to believe me? If we're having a conversation of substance, are you going to trust me to keep up to my end of the bargain? And right now, I imagine that in Russia, there's not too much trust for the United States because we have not behaved well when it comes to dealing with Russians. But that's our government. Our government hasn't behaved well. So what I'm going to do right now, if I have your permission, Pavel, is I'd like to turn to the Americans here. I want to hear from people here. What would you do to rebuild trust between Russia and the United States? Here's your chance. There's a Russian audience right here. They look in America and they say, we don't trust you because your government has lied to us. Your government has broken treaties, withdrawn from treaties, deceived. Okay? How are you going to change it? What are you going to do to convince the Russians that we can be trusted?
Thank you, Scott. My name is Stephen DeCastro. I'm a filmmaker. I believe that one thing that we could do, somebody over there had mentioned that we should engage in projects together and not just the talking, not just the dialogue. And I think that it would be great to see some joint projects like joint traveling projects, even not just going to Russia or going to the United States, or even Russian United States citizens going to other countries to understand the struggle in Africa, understand struggles going on in Asia right now. And so that's my suggestion.
Joint project builds trust. You know, we have in our audience today some wonderful people from the Center for Citizens Initiative, CCI. These are people that promoted dialogue between Russia and the United States through travel to meet. And they're not allowed to do their job today because the U.S. government has shut it down. They say that they don't want Americans traveling to Russia. So here's the question: how do we establish trust long distance? Now, we're doing something here today, Pavel. I think it's very important. But the question is projects, you said. What are we going to do tomorrow? What are we going to do the day after tomorrow? How do we make this live? Now, I know that's a question we're not going to answer here today, but again, it's a question I want to pose to people in the audience. Stand up, sir. Come on over here. Here's the question to you. This is going to end later on today. What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do next week to take what we're doing here today and continue to build trust with the Russians? The challenge is on you.
God bless you guys. Thank you very much. I really wish you everything from my heart. We need each other to save this planet. I'd say do not trust us right now. We are run by a military that's taken over my country. Do not trust them at all. They're going for dominance. We need each other to pull our militaries back from destroying the planet. We need to protect our planet together, you and us in this room. So do not trust us. We should stand up. Right now, we are invading Iran, for God's sakes. I want to thank the Soviet Union. Look at that. That's where I come from. I want to thank Russia for standing up for Iran. Thank you very much for that ancient culture. And yes, you know, I come from that era. I first looked at the sky with you when Sputnik, it was the first time I remember as a child looking at the heavens. When you put Sputnik up there, I remember being amazed. I never really looked at stars before you did that. And we were spending all night looking for Sputnik. I also grew up in a house, I'm Irish American. I grew up in a house where my father loved Tolstoy. That's who he wanted us to read. And Tchaikovsky was playing in my house constantly. So in America, that's how do you establish trust? By getting to know one another. So God bless you. Don't trust us right now. We are wrong. We are really wrong. Our military is wrong. Trust the people in this room. Let's keep building bridges. I remember in the 70s, 1970s, a lot of Russians came to New York City, building bridges. Bella Abzug, Ted Weiss was a congressman. We embraced Russians. We tried to have this dialogue. So let's keep having this dialogue. Let's push our governments, our militarism back as much as we can together and know that, yes, human beings, well, we just need each other, Scott. And I just want to thank you, Scott, for all the work that you're doing to do what I'm saying. So God bless you all. Thank you. And, yeah, let's keep breathing together and know we're doing what's right together. Thank you.
Pavel, if you'll indulge me just one more time. When you look around this audience, when you look around this audience, you see people of a certain generation, long in the tooth, so to speak. These are people who know that there is ongoing cooperation between Russia and the United States that dates back to the time of the Soviet Union and the International Space Station. As we look above us, there is a space station flying overhead that is jointly manned by Americans and Russians working together. So we know that we are capable of doing this. But the real question is a challenge to this room, and it's a challenge to me as a father. You see, I have two daughters who are here today. And now we're going to find out what kind of father I am, because Victoria, you're coming up here right now, and I'm going to challenge you to tell the Russian audience what you're doing, what your generation is doing to promote trust between Russians. And if you're not doing it, what will it take to get you to do it? So, ladies and gentlemen, indulge me, my daughter Victoria.
Hi, everyone. I'm a little bit put on the spot here, but that's fine. I've been listening to all of the questions that have been asked as far back as since the Cold War. And I mean, it's true that there's a lot of propaganda in our country. Like if I were to ask many of my friends, they spew out government talking points and think that Putin is the embodiment of everything that's evil on the planet, and he wants to destroy the world. That's true. What I do is I just try to redirect the conversation and say that's not true. And then you can point to all of the facts in the world. You can pull up every article in the world, and still it doesn't feel like that's enough to fight the propaganda sometimes. But you just have to keep trying. And I think it's important to remember that there are so many people in both of our countries, and our governments are not our countries, and our governments are not our people necessarily. They're supposed to represent us, but they don't always do that properly. And the way things are set up, like we don't always get an easy say to change things. But we just want, I think, really, we just want the same thing, and we don't want to kill each other. So my thing is to just, what I'll do is just to always keep trying to correct the record and tell the truth. So.
Speaker, did you travel to Russia?
I did, and I loved it.
Tell them about your trip to Russia. Not the whole thing, but what did you think of the Russian people?
I thought we were almost exactly the same. Like Russians and Americans, I thought our sense of humor is very similar. I came back and I was like, I didn't feel like there's a difference, I guess, in the soul. You can say like there's an oldness to the Russian soul that the American soul doesn't necessarily have. We don't have that age and wisdom, I guess you can say. But at our very core, like we laugh at the same things. We get along, and it was really great. And I loved being there, and I can't wait to come back. So.
Well, thank you very much. I had the honor and privilege to have both my daughters accompany me to trips to Russia. And I can say that from my experience, that probably is one of the best ways to break down the walls between our two countries and to overcome the prejudice of propaganda is by seeing Russia firsthand, seeing the beauty of the Russian nation, the beauty of the Russian people, the richness of Russian culture. And if we do that, then it's not going to be a matter of trust or distrust. It's going to be a matter of love, because you learn to love one another when you experience each other as fellow human beings. All right, Pavel, back to you.
Спасибо большое.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for your great words. And you know, there are some issues which challenge, which are the challenge for us as well. Well, so let's come up to the next question. I really would like to see if there should be the next question, which I do expect. So let's hear it.
I have the following question. We're very worried about missiles in West Germany, cruise missiles in the UK, in Holland, the Netherlands, and the rest of Europe. Why are these missiles in Europe? They shouldn't be in our continent, in Europe. America is far beyond the ocean. We're very worried about where these missiles are going to come from. So I would like to ask, what's the American view of this? What about these missiles in Europe? They shouldn't be there, should they?
Знаете, я сейчас после этого вопроса.
And you know, after this question, what I would like to tell you. So I'm saying that, I would like to hear what was the answer in 1985, but I'm forgetting about it because answers are almost the same. You know what I wonder? 40 years passed. 40 years. Technology has changed. Internet appeared. We can travel to each other. But for some reason, nothing changed with that regard. And the questions which we would like to ask to each other, those questions are actually the same. They're coming from like from 1985. I don't know if we should dwell upon this question, because from that point of view, American citizens already answered that. So maybe let's have fun on that. And this most famous question from 1985, please, let's have it on screen. There's a woman, American woman asked this question.
Пожалуйста, на экран вопрос.
Question on screen.
One of the things I've been reading, following along the lines of what this woman up here had said, was about the role of women in Russia, and that, yes, they have equality in terms of a job, but they also get to come home and take care of the house and take care of the children and stand in the long lines to buy the food. I wonder if you could comment on that.
Вот это, конечно, не тот самый вопрос, который бы я хотел, чтобы вы
Not the question which I would like to have on screen, but let's start with that one. So if it's the question is clear for you, who would like to answer the question? The question is clear, guys? Or anyone else? Or there will be the same people? Of course, women should answer. Okay, then I'm coming with a mic.
Thank you, Pavel. The thing is that in this room, I'm the oldest, one of the oldest, to be frank. I answer this question from that 1985, and I'm over 60, and I'm actually very good in my scientific career. I'm a great cook. I bake pies and I make meatballs. I have 2 daughters and a very nice granddaughter. of 18 years.
В России
In Russia,
женщины
women
могут очень большое количество
can
женщин сказать то же самое,
say the same,
что они состоялись на
that they
работе,
are good at
что они
work,
состоялись в семейной
good
жизни,
careers, great
что у них
family life,
великолепные дети,
wonderful
и что у
children,
них замечательные
and
внуки,
great
и они
grandchildren.
еще очень много
And
дружат,
they have friends,
любят, со всеми
they love
встречаются.
many people
Я
around
очень
them,
рада, что
they
я
communicate a
Павел
lot.
позвал на
I'm
этот
very
пост.
happy to be
И вы знаете,
here
я
at this
передаю от
Telebridge.
себя вот
And
материнскую,
I would like to
бабушкинскую
pass on my
вам.
love
Вот
of
Рита
a mother,
сказал о
grandmother to
любви.
you. Rita
И вот
Scott spoke
сейчас
about love,
любовный мост
and
такой вот,
this love
мост любви
telebridge
построен от меня к Скотту.
now is built from me to
Обязательно
Scott.
я люблю.
I
Вот
love.
какой замечательный мужчина изображен сейчас.
And
Так,
you
я
can see
попрошу,
this
да,
handsome guy
аплодисменты,
on the
пожалуйста.
screen. Okay, a round of
Сейчас
applause.
еще тут ответит, пожалуйста.
Now we have more answers.
Да, спасибо большое.
Thank you
Я
very much.
присоединяюсь к вам.
I would like to join your answer. I'm also
Нехорошо говорить, что состоялось
quite successful in my career. Well, I'm trying to be as successful as possible. I'm in IT and I'm a software developer for engineers. And I have also a husband and family, and my mother-in-law is happy with my meatballs, and I suppose that it's great. In the contemporary world, I think a woman has many strings attached, a lot of responsibilities, and it's really tough. It's great pressure. So when actually I delivered the baby, my husband was on paternity leave, and I continued with my career, and my husband was actually doing all these, chores with nappies and all that. And this experience of contemporary approach to parenthood, for me personally, it is associated with something Western, something American, an American experience. It seems so that it's the Western countries that taught us how to be partners in families. And I don't know how to end this comment. Actually, I also would like to continue this partnership. You taught us partnership in families, and we want to have partnership and relationship with you. It's great to see all of you. And it's wonderful to start a dialogue. It's great that you, with all your wisdom, will help us to establish good contact and good dialogue and actually be looking for joint projects or cooperation. So that's what our people tell us. This, delineation delineation of responsibilities and partnership and families comes from you. What do you think about it? Does it really come from American families, from your wisdom?
Well, Pavel, thanks for that. You're talking to the wrong person, because I'm a guy, and I spent almost the first 8 years that my daughters were raised working overseas and doing other things. And it was totally the responsibility of my wife to raise the children and to change the nappies and do this sort of thing. So I'm going to turn this over to a lady. Any moms out there who want to talk about the challenges of motherhood in America? Does the government give you parental leave? Do they provide, health care and things like that? You want to take this challenge?
Hello, my name is Robin. I might not be as representative of everyone. I'm an oceanographer, but I had 2 sons, and I had a Navy career, and my husband died when my son was 2.5 and 7. But before then, he was very, very supportive, and we always thought that I was going to retire as soon as I could, and then we were just going to follow him around. But life had a different plan for us. But he was disabled around the time my first son was born. And so it ended up that he actually stayed home with the kids a lot of the time. I didn't have very much leave. Back when mine were young, you only got 6 weeks. but now it's much more generous. I think most places, parents get 2 months, and a lot of places also give fathers 3 months. And probably need somebody younger to talk to that. But I feel like I was able to have a successful career and successful kids, and both of my kids, say one other thing that a couple people comment on, had great opportunities to go to Russia. One in high school after his 3rd year of Russian, the Russian language teacher took him over, and one is a college student in geology. The younger one, the Russian student, was hosted by a host family in St. Petersburg. The other went to Kamchatka and took a geology course. Kept in touch with kids, and if there's a way to keep doing that, even if it has to be virtual with the young kids in high school and colleges, we asked for solutions before, and maybe that could be one.
Thank you very much. Before I turn over, yes, ma'am, I got one more lady in the audience who wants to talk to this topic. Thank you very much. Address the.
Hi, my name is Polly, and I have been to Russia for 3 times, and I actually learned Russian in college, and I love the country. My husband and I shared a childbearing, and we now have 4 grandchildren. But actually, what I wanted to talk about is the level of freedom to protest in our 2 countries. People might know over there that we had last weekend 5 million people in the street protesting Trump and the military parade that he was putting on in Washington. And I just wonder whether you have the freedom to do that kind of thing in the former Soviet Union.
Okay, thank you. So we received your serve and we volleyed back. Questions in your court, Pavel.
Да. Включите нам, пожалуйста, ответ.
Kindly, can we have the
В
answer
1985 году.
of 1985?
In the Soviet Union, we have all conditions to ensure that women can participate in public life of our city, in managing government affairs, various government bodies, in cultural life. We have children's kindergartens, daycare centers, and schools. The schools have extended day programs for children.
Насколько я понимаю,
Can you stop, please?
Father has to work and can't come to
пожалуйста,
pick up.
еще раз запустите вместе с переводом. Спасибо большое.
In the Soviet Union, we have all conditions to ensure that women can participate in public life of our city, in managing government affairs, various government bodies, in cultural life. We have children's kindergartens, daycare centers, and schools. The schools have extended day programs for children if the mother or the father has to work and can't come to pick up the child. So we have all the best possible conditions to ensure that Soviet women can work in peace.
Спасибо большое. Теперь у
Very
меня
much.
просьба такая. Мне нужен
And
тот
now
самый
I
вопрос.
want the question, that question, and then we're going to move to the last question.
Надеюсь, все понимают, что называется
I do
тот самый
understand,
вопрос.
I hope that everybody understands what I mean by the question, that the most important one.
Мы все ожидаем.
We are waiting. I would like to say that
in our country. Do you have commercial television?
А вот у нас сначала вопрос к вам, к
So
американскому.
first, it's a question to you, to American audience. Is it the same when it comes about commercials, Scott? Is it the same or anything changed?
Between 1985 and today?
Ну, там вопрос такой был, у нас все
Was everything is around sex in commercials. Is it still like this in the United States?
Well, that's a hell of a question. Is it all about sex? You're talking to the wrong person. I'm married. So, and I was in the Marine Corps, and so.
Ну, то есть рекламу ты, Скотт, не смотришь.
You do not see the commercials on TV, don't you?
procreating. But I do think we live in a society that is hypersexualized, over-sexualized, and I do think it lends to a deterioration of society. I mean, there's a time and place for everything, and I don't pretend to be a prude, but I also think that if we diminish the importance of intimacy, we diminish family values. And if we make something that is supposed to be special between a man and a wife commonplace, then we diminish the value of marriage. But that's my old school. I'm sort of old-fashioned on this one. Is there anybody out here that has a more progressive view towards sex in America? I'll let you take it, man.
Hi, my name is Bob, and I'm from New York City, and actually from Buffalo, New York, originally, where we get a little bit more snow. And I spent 30 years of my career working with conflict education around issues of addiction and violence and conflict, and specifically sexual violence. And from what the question that was just asked, what came to my mind was something I shared with college students for 30 years. And that is that in this culture, we are open enough about sex to exploit it and make money off it, but not open enough about it for people to learn what they desperately need to know in terms of how to treat themselves and each other. And because of that, we have made a mess. And my understanding has been that the only way out is what we're doing right now: dialogue, education, helping people to understand what they need to know and what they need to be talking to each other about in relationships in order for us to move through the conflict that's always there. So the same thing that applies to sex, I think, applies to nations. And unfortunately, my nation, in a lot of ways, I just have to share one personal feeling on this. I love my country, but I am horrified and ashamed by the foreign policy that has come out of my country during the lion's share of my life. I was born in 1960. The first 10 years of my life were punctuated by political assassinations, race riots, Vietnam, air raid drills, because we were afraid of what you were going to drop on us, and very little dialogue. And over the years, I have seen my government fan out around the world to exploit, just like we've done with sex, to exploit people around the world in order to line our pockets at the expense of the rest of the world. And I love my country, but I am ashamed of some of our actions.
Thank you very much. Now, I'm going to
Аплодисменты вам.
feel like we owe this
A round of applause to you guys.
1985 an answer. So, is there anybody here who dates back to the swinging 60s and the swinging 70s, the sexual revolution? They can speak about the compare and contrast of approach to sexuality then and what they think the American approach today. Was it healthier back then? Is it healthier today? Does anybody want to tackle that one? The $1 million question. And there's not a single person here that wants to, oh, here we go, Mr. Sexuality.
Well, being 71 years old, I lived in Woodstock, 68 was it? So I was a freshman in high school. I was wearing a suit and tie and not long hair and a headband. But the draft dodgers, who now run our government, I think, the old hippies, they revolted against authority. And they got into drugs. They didn't want to fight in Vietnam. Who didn't? I didn't either. I joined the military in order to avoid it on my terms. But in their tribal mentality, they exploited drugs, they exploited sex, and they were just out of control. And it became a national problem. And folks like us who were trying to build our country, we were the background. They really ran amok, and we're still paying the price for it today because this whole sexual garbage that they call a revolution is just like Scott said. It's a degradation of something that's very special between men and women.
Thanks. Before I turn it over, I'll just make an observation. Today, there's a phenomena, apparently, of girls dropping out of college. Instead of pursuing an education, get a job, they start an OnlyFans page or something of that nature. They make a heck of a lot of money doing it. And I think that sort of says all you need to say about sex in America today. It's become impersonal, it's become commercial, and it leads to the degradation of humanity. What we're trying to promote here today is interaction between human beings to build a human contact, connection. And if we followed the path that many have followed in terms of sexuality, we would stay in our homes, we would connect each other only over the internet, and we would only talk to one another if we could make money off it. So that's my 10 cents on that one. Wait. We've got somebody here, Cynthia Pooler, who is going to give us her impression on this.
It's not about this. Those of us who are paying attention in this country, we're deathly afraid of annihilation at any moment. You have the same race of fear in Russia.
About sex, but about fear. And oftentimes many people are afraid of sex. So maybe there's commonality between the two. But over to you, Pavel.
Слава Богу, мы все там обговорили, по-моему.
God, we've discussed everything, but it was a question from American audience to us, citizens of America. They answered the question themselves. Do you have something to add to those answers? Yes, please. Well, good day. My name is Maria, and I'm a sister of Pavel. So I would like to say the woman in 1985 answered that there is no sex in Russia. I would like to say that maybe since 1985 till 2020 there was some sex, but now we have no more sex anymore. We work too much, we have no more time, and maybe it's not that much interested in sex. So maybe we should wrap up with that a bit, with it matter. And I would like to listen to the very serious question from American audience to us. Let's have the very last question.
В нашей аудитории есть несколько женщин, ветеранов вооруженных сил США. И мне было бы любопытно узнать, служат ли советские женщины в вооруженных силах, если
переводом на русский язык, пожалуйста.
В нашей аудитории есть несколько женщин, ветеранов вооруженных сил США. И мне было бы любопытно узнать, служат ли советские женщины в вооруженных силах, есть ли женщины в Афганистане, и как советские женщины относятся к участию советских вооруженных сил в событиях в Афганистане.
Я прошу прощения, это я виноват. Здесь был именно русский, да, ответ. Как советские женщины относятся к...
The question is, what Soviet women think about our Russian or Soviet army forces in Afghanistan. So women, please, those who lived those days, or maybe now, it's not that important. Can anyone answer this question? What's your attitude? What was your attitude? So, not many can answer this question. It's a question to women. And I would like to say that was a question from the Leningrad, Boston, which was in 1986. And actually, I consider this tele-bridge of women was much more interesting from the point of view of both questions and answers. And that was a question to the Soviet citizens. 1986, yes, we had this military operation in Afghanistan. What was the attitude of women? So let's listen to one answer, and then I would like to have the answer of the Soviet woman on screen, after we listen to the answer from the floor. So, you know, my name is Marina. I was born in the city of Ryazan. Ryazan has a unique military school from which a lot of men went and worked as a military men in Afghanistan. So those women who married some of my schoolmates and friends, they really waited. They cried. And they waited for them. And the country, regretfully, after some time, forgot them. And we do remember them, actually. And the mission, which, by the way, in Afghanistan, it was a very complicated mission. We have quite ambiguous attitude to that. It needs to be quite seriously reconsidered. What's positive was done by our military men in Afghanistan, and what's bad, maybe not really positive things were done. It means very hard pages in life of my country and my people, but women always waited for and loved their men. And from Ryazan, I would like to remember about all those who didn't come back. The cemetery of the Ryazan military school is really huge. I do remember all my life. I was a bit older than 20 those days. So another round of applause. And can we hear the answer of the Russian woman? I'm saying, as a mother, I'm 50 years of age. I have a son, 24. And I don't want him once to be at any war at all. And I do know quite well, but those boys, our boys who died in Afghanistan, they might be alive if the internal affairs in Afghanistan are not, so to say, disturbed by some external powers, if there is no things which are called as export of cold counter-revolution. So the answer. You know about there was a words about this Ryazan military school. You know what I want to say. Recently, I watched a very realistic movie. It's called The Best in Hell. It shows a specific episode of the military operation. Those wearing white bands against those who wore yellow bands. They all spoke Russian, and this movie was made by the Russian filmmakers. And what I noticed that it was not just realistic, just no romance, which we can see in Hollywood movies, but it showed that our counterpart is not demonized. One side was shown as a professional, brave, and courageous. And the same was shown about the counterpart. That's the respect we've got in the movie, though it was made by the Russian filmmakers again. And you know, these days, we shouldn't forget about that. We even love together, but we shouldn't forget what are the days we're having around. We're actually meeting even in the more terrible days than it was in 1985. The whole world actually is burning. There are lots of conflicts around us because of misunderstanding on how to build a dialogue. And you know, there is such a tradition which we can see not only among Russians but also to other like Normandian countries, when we talk not only about the respect to the rival, but also when we lament about those fallen, not only yours but all those fall. All those who actually fell. And I would like to suggest, let's commemorate, let's lament about all those who fell in all the conflicts at the fields of war, those who were, let's mourn on them, let's mourn on the sadness of fathers, sisters, children, so dear citizens of America, for the sake of the peace on earth, let's announce a minute of silence. What do you think about that?
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Спасибо большое.
Thanks a lot, guys.
А давайте сейчас еще
So,
все-таки мы
let
объединены
us
не только горестями.
say
У нас есть
we
культура.
Interject. We might want to move on to the cultural
Да,
side,
пожалуйста,
because
Скотт.
my people got to go. So the sooner we can interject some culture into this event, maybe the better.
Да-да, пожалуйста. Мы как раз сейчас вот об этом и хотим.
Yes, we would like to come to that. We would like to come to that. It's a question, the issues about culture. Let's turn to that. Do we have some from the cultural, so to say, field? So, which question you would like to ask? It's very hard to switch at that very complex point. You know, it seems to me. I'm sorry for that. So excuse me. You know, Carnegie Hall, the concert which was where Carnegie Hall was open. Pyotr Tchaikovsky participated in this concert. He was a director there. It's a great example of cooperation, collaboration, interaction, and I would like to have more of that in culture and in the world. To have more of a consent, more of a agreement. Then that's why I have my question. As an opera singer, I would like to find out, I would like to ask you which classical opera pieces you like the most.
Well, you're asking the wrong guy. I'm a Bruce Springsteen
Снова не тому.
But tell you what, I have a soft spot in my heart for Rimsky-Korsakov and Tchaikovsky, and I was wondering if there might be people in the Russian side that might know how to sing a little bit of Rimsky-Korsakov and Tchaikovsky, because I think we got some people
может
over
быть,
here
какую-то
who'd like to
строчку.
join you.
Can sing just a single line.
Возможно, какая-то цитата.
Maybe you can
произнести.
say a quote from some music piece, from some opera piece.
From a music piece or opera. I can give you the lyrics of Bruce Springsteen's Racing in the Streets, maybe Thunder Road, but you know who could give you a quote is Diane Sayre, who's one of the most cultured people I know. So Diane, it's on you.
He's really putting me on the spot because I'm not an opera singer, I am a trombone player. But we were discussing this morning how important the opera Rigoletto is because of the question of rage and revenge, which is addressed very powerfully by the jealous old man who accidentally murders his beloved daughter to get even with someone who's making fun of him. And I think that's really the purpose of great opera, is that we can practice having appropriate emotional responses, or we get the bad responses out on the stage so we don't have to do them in real life.
So, Pavel, that's, I think it's time that we introduce the American audience to some Russian opera. Gerald Salante, who's the host of this venue, believes that the key to the American revival is an American Renaissance, a Renaissance that's based upon music, beauty, art. Do you think the Russian side can show us a little bit of that Russian beauty and art?
100%. Анастасия,
100%.
пожалуйста.
Anastasia, please.
Русскую красоту
So Russian beauty, I will show a bit later if I may. I would like to also give a quote from the very famous piece of the American composer. And I think everybody knows this piece because it can be reproduced by different music instruments. There is a huge number of variations of this topic. So, may I sing?
So hush, little baby, don't you cry.
Это цитата. Все знают это
The
произведение.
quote. Everybody knows it. We do love music. We do love American music. We like, so to say, world music. We love to sing it, to feel it, understand it, and develop and grow on it.
Scott, what about you?
What about me? Well, but first of all, I just want to make sure everybody in the American audience knows that was soprano Anastasia Simonskaya, and she sings with the Mariinsky Theater. It's one of the preeminent theaters, not only in St. Petersburg, but in all of Russia. It's a great honor to have her sing with us today. What we have for you is we've got a baritone, Eric Louis Vinyas. He's accompanied by Hassan Chun Novak, and they are going to provide an excerpt of the aria Yas Vas Lublю from Tchaikovsky's Queen of Spades. So, Eric, on you.
У меня... Здравствуйте, да, спасибо большое. У меня вопрос прежде всего к нашим звукорежиссерам. Скажите, пожалуйста, будет ли хорошо быть на записи?
Will we hear that on the record? Because it's very important that great that Eric sang this Russian piece to the American audience, but regretfully, it was very poor quality of sound for the Russian audience. Or we need to sing it once again. Once again. We try not to break through this song, but I request to our sound engineers, if it is a bad quality, then please do something for that. I think it's very, very important. And the floor is yours, please.
Yes, of course, and that'll give me a chance to correct some incorrect Russian I may have had. So, great. We'll do it once more. На ясновидь злословствую теперь я, куда себя вместо завлек, как чувствами ведой веря, как малость и как далек. Ах, я терзаюсь этой со страстью на все душой, печалью свежая печалью, и плачу вашею слезой. Я терзаюсь этой со страстью на все душой. Я вас люблю, люблю безмерно, без вас не бесплодно прожить. Я подвиг силы беспримерной, готов сейчас для вас свершить. О,
Bravo.
Baritone Eric Louise Vinyaz, accompanied by Husan Chun Novak, singing an excerpt from the aria Ya Vas le Bleu from Tchaikovsky's Queen of Spades. Eric, I want to thank you very much for coming. I also want to thank Husan. I know you guys got to get back going to New York City, but I'm very grateful that you were able to come here and perform with us today. Once again, Eric and Husan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Спасибо, спасибо, Анастасия.
Thanks a lot to the stages. Thanks a lot to Eric.
Ну, я думаю, что это
And
очень
I think
здорово получилось.
it was real great. It was wonderful. And now, what we'd like to do, we'd like to ask questions to each other, not from 1985, but questions which are burning for us today. So, Scott, what do you think if we start from your side? Because, well, in this case, we started from 1985, and we ask questions to you, and then it would be a right thing to do if you'd be first with questions this time.
There's a tremendous interest in asking questions, and I know that there's some interest in asking some political questions. So why don't we jump into that? I know you had a question. If you introduce yourself to the Russians and ask your question. Thank you.
Добрый вечер. Congratulations on your 80th victory parade. It was stupendous. My question is that when Trump went to Russia, I understood from my media, which is secondhand, of course, that Minister Lavrov came to President Putin and said, you know, Donald, you just lost $350 billion by your, what do they call it when they stop? I forgot the word. Your sanctions. And the media reported further that Donald Trump's eyes lit up. And the next thing I heard, just subsequently, not exactly the next day, was that President Putin had agreed to trade, I don't know if it was a trade or a one-way deal, but to send industrial material to the United States, which was accepted. I don't know if the United States reciprocated. And my question is, again, from my media, I've heard this, that Russia and Iran are now friends, or more than friends. And Russia has said, or that is President Putin has said, he would be supporting the Iranians. So when Mr. Trump sides with Palestine and tells the Iranians, you have 60 days to make an agreement that they couldn't possibly agree to of giving up their nuclear weapons, that on the 61st day, if there's no agreement, there would be something bad that happened. And something bad did happen, which is Israel with United States intelligence. Yeah. Not only that, they bombed Tehran and also threatened to drop a JDOM on their nuclear facility. So my question to you, and I would love to know what you think, is what is Russia's real position? Are you getting very friendly with United States policy? Are you giving up on Iran? Or is the Russian Federation prepared to support Iran in this conflict?
Okay, there it is. It's a challenge to Russia. Do you want to be friends with America or do you want to be friends with Iran? Apparently, that's a decision you have to make. Or is there a middle ground? I'll pass it on to you.
Спасибо, Scott.
Scott, who would like to answer this question? So, anyone? So we've got a brave one. Good day, my name is Alexei Zhirov. I'm a sports journalist. Good, dear friends, we created into the talk show. There is a popular talk show in Russia called Solovyov Live. It's a question from an expert, and we will answer this question with all our pleasure. Actually, well, we have not politologists here, but quite lay people, so to say, and it's quite hard to word out some official point of view. But from my personal point of view, I think that Vladimir Putin has a better view on the problem. That's my answer. So we try to get away from direct answer. And one more answer. So there is one more. Say, no, we didn't get away. It was a good question and it was a good answer. I'm a professor in many universities, in many countries, philosopher and economist. I can answer you the following. That the conflict between Israel and Iran has very ancient roots. It didn't happen 10 years ago or 50 years ago. The question is in a historical domain, 5,000-year-old domain. Maybe not colleagues, but let's say you're our friends. If you study, but our audience need also to study it. If you study Wikipedia or some internet sources, and sometimes you feel sorry that the human nature and sacred books that talk about that in the beginning of the third millennia, the scientists, biologists explained that the humans are related to animals of the third type, aggressive ones. It's quite frustrating to hear it, because we're here for a different purpose, to make things better. But what is the third type animals? These are animals which are able of non-motivated killing. An animal might kill to fight for a female or because of a hunger, but humans might use aggression or force just because they can. Greek philosophers said that philosophers should rule the countries. Bismarck, there was such a German military person, military leader, and it was he lived in the 19th century, and he was the one who joined together German lands, and he said the wars are won not by generals, but by rural priests and teachers. We all need to become better. And again, I'm not going away from the answer, but talking about the official position, the official representative, it happened quite recently, it was recently official representative of the Russian Federation in the UN said that UN principles are violated by whom? By Israel. And we have very good relationships with Israel. But why those conflicts actually emerge? Very simple answer is oil. It's transit of oil from Qatar to the Mediterranean, but it's not all. The conflict is much more serious. It has 5,000-year-old history, because before Iran it was Gaza. There are 2 million people living in Gaza, and people die every day there. Gaza is 5 years old, the Gaza, and so the Gaza Strip has some very important point inside. But I would like to end up to wrap up. The problem is in a total economical debt, which today, by the beginning of 2025, is $400 trillion US dollars. To reform global financial systems, a global war is required, and it's highly desirable with the use of tactical nuclear weapons. And our scientists and scientists, American scientists from other countries, we have non-military solutions. Let's make about it. When our friends and colleagues and Scott who said that we need to make common projects in business and scientific breakthroughs, we need to think about that and we can talk about that. We even have some suggestions, even very specific suggestions, how to avoid this conflict. So let's mark up this dialogue as a kind of a resolution of our telebridge. Let's think about it and make a common suggestion on how to resolve such situations. Now I would like to draw to our audience, to our main task, to our main agenda. We talked today about a dialogue which is used to solve various issues. We should not be too romantic. We should understand that we are not likely to avoid conflicts. They would be there. But what we can do, we can decrease their numbers and we can make them shorter if people would think about a dialogue, if what actually we are doing together with you. Scott, what do you say?
Unless we have commonality of purpose, it'll be one of the shortest dialogues ever because it always leads to human nature to confront. People get frustrated when words don't accomplish much. So it's not just about the words; it's about the the approach that's being embraced by both sides. Do we agree on the same things? And if we don't agree, how can we come to agreement on these things? What I'd like to do now, though, real quick, Cynthia, you had asked a question back when we were talking about sexuality, and you moved on into politics. So here's your chance to ask the political question and see if we can get an answer.
For those people who are aware of what's going on, there's a pervasive fear of annihilation at any moment. Do the Russian people feel that same fear as we do in the United States?
So basically, here's the challenge to the Russians. Do you fear the same things we fear? Do you feel the same emotions that we feel when it comes to the world that we live in? Good question, Cynthia. Pavel? Cynthia.
Да, пожалуйста, спасибо большое.
Thank you very much for the question.
Да, пожалуйста, сейчас подойду к вам.
Спасибо вам большое.
Thank you very much. My name is Timofey Kuznetsov. I'm a student of International Relations Department of St. Petersburg State University. And generally speaking, as a representative of a younger generation and a person who represents students, for us, this question is very important. For Russians, for just people, American audience, we live in the country which survived many wars, revolts, civil war, Second World War, First World War, Second World War, and we are afraid. We are afraid for the destiny of this country and the whole world. But most important is what we can do for this world to be better. And every single day in this country, we're trying to make this world better, a better place. And we try to expand it to the whole of the world. But most important is that we try to remember about our interests and about ourselves. And Russia is a great country. just like America. And we are striving to make this world better, but not forgetting about the interests of this country. This is what our president usually quotes, but do you experience the same fears as Americans do? Me personally, yes, I do. I am scared, and I do fear what may happen. Reading about the Israeli-Iran conflict or any other conflicts all over the world, every single day we are afraid that this particular day will be the last, and this will be the last day of this planet. Yes, we are afraid of this. But most important is that we live into the next day, and we have to live and do everything possible for this world to be still here, existent for the next generation. Just like Winston Churchill said, for our children and great-children to say that we actually preserve this world for them. Yes, Scott, we are afraid. We are afraid of what is happening in the world. I am afraid as well. I'm really scared. And there is one more person who is scared. I will pass the microphone to him.
Прости, я, наверное, наоборот скажу.
Well, my name is Ivan Gavrilov, and I'm a businessman. I started back in the 90s.
Также кинопродюсер.
I'm also a filmmaker and a film producer, and an MBA. I run an MBA program in the School of Business. So I've got many strings attached, and looking back in time, I would like to say that I'm not afraid of anything.
Потому что я пережил 98 год,
Because I survived 1998,
20 год, 22 год,
2020, 2022,
меняется контекст.
and every time the context changes.
Я могу что-нибудь изменить?
And I come to analyze whether I can change anything, whether I'm capable of changing anything. No, I just have to adapt to the new conditions. I just hope. I hope that everything will turn for the better, will turn all right. If it does not, well, if it won't turn for the better, I will have to adapt to the new reality. But I do hope there will be peace all over the world. And I actually love people around me. Dear Scott, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to you just for your personal position in all international questions. This is something that really causes respect. And I would be I will go
по поводу страхов. Вот, пожалуйста.
Добрый день, меня зовут Дмитрий, я экономист.
My name is Dmitry, I'm an economist, and the first Americans that I was acquainted with is John Hackman, family who traveled here to St. Petersburg by the invitation of Zhores Alferov to deliver lectures here. As I communicated more with his family, but I understood that his family are just ordinary, usual people like all of us sitting here. And of course, the fears are very similar. They are similar in this country. I quite agree with many of my colleagues that do have the same emotions. Well, there was a question which is quite tricky. If I speak for myself, I suppose that it's sad when President Trump says that he will supply just bombs and missiles to Israel to shell Iran. I feel sadness, and I don't like this aggression against Iran because President Trump says that it will be better for the world economy. It causes great deal of bewilderment, and I would say that this section will show us that the position of Mr. Trump is not the position of the American people. Thank you very much for the answer. I know that here in the room we have citizens of America. We have citizens of America here from the Russian side. Do you have any fears? Do you share these fears? Yes? Yes, I share this fear. I'm an American person, and most probably I should speak should speak English.
I have a lot of anxiety. Being from America, I think it's natural to have that because of the threats that exist in the world. We're thankful in America, and I'm thankful here in Russia to see Scott taking such activity against these sorts of things, trying to counteract them. Thank you very much. You have our deepest appreciation for that. And when all this started in 2021, I had a great deal of anxiety because it immediately brought back those feelings that I had living through the 1980s, when there was such fear in America about the possibility of nuclear war. And I honestly thought naively that this nightmare is over, but now it's revisiting us. And I'm having these same kinds of feelings now, and the situation between the U.S. and America perhaps is calming down a little bit now, but things seem to have gotten to a whole new, worse level with what's happening between Iran and Israel. So yes, I do definitely have the fear of annihilation. What they use the German term angst, I think is a good description for that. Спасибо большое.
Спасибо. Кто еще хочет ответить, пожалуйста? Вот здесь, кстати, еще есть. Пожалуйста, Игорь.
Да. Добрый вечер, добрый день. Меня зовут Рогачев Игорь, я занимаюсь цивилизацией строительства, проектированием. По поводу страха, можно сказать довольно простую вещь. Мы живем в эпоху глобальных изменений. Мы это должны просто принять. У нас есть уникальная возможность наблюдать за тем, как будет меняться мир, к сожалению, будет много войн и конфликтов, но что вас, в России,
both in the United States and in Russia, we have good, comfortable conditions for observing this situation. And most probably, it will not touch these two countries directly. So I don't think we should be fearing that much. Yes, we are changing. The world is changing. That's my position. Okay, that's a position. And now, I suppose there will be another speaker. Just a moment.
Гражданским языком.
Just can you speak in a
Я постараюсь гражданский
civilian language? Yes, my name is Marina Khakhlova. You know, the thing is that decisions are taken about unleashing wars by minority, by those people who are up in the government. But unfortunately, people who are at war are our children, husbands, sons and grandchildren. We don't want this. Guys, you know, it's time to start thinking and start thinking about the criminal orders. I was connected with the militarist topic in many communities. Actually, I was a rare woman, and especially in the Russian NATO working task force, a working group. We should stop it. We should start thinking. And in every country, there is a concept of criminal order or crime order. And I am absolutely convinced that it was a crime without any evidence, just to bomb Tehran.
Вопрос заключается, конечно, вот эти бомбардировки могут быть бесконечны. Говорить о том, что мы сидим в тепле в этом зале, а вы в великолепном кафе напротив,
about the fact that we're sitting in a beautiful room and you are just sitting in that cafe and just witness this. I suppose this is awful. Half an hour
ago, we all rose and mourned in a minute of silence. Thank you very much for organizing this for us and for us to do this really. Definitely we should start thinking and stop wars. Apart from these person, I suppose we have souls, he doesn't. And I suppose it is time for the whole of the society, American society, Russian society, to join and not witness the situation, not witness the changing world order, but we must do the new world order. We must make it new. I published a book, World and War, and part of this book is devoted to the new world order. What people are planning for us at all continents of the world. And the second book, which is being published on the internet at the moment, about the new world order and about the new, so to say, world that we must create together. And there is a plan for it. Thank you.
Scott, пожалуйста.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Pavel. Let me, Cynthia asked a great question. What are you afraid of? And you gave us some great answers. Let's throw it back to an American audience. What are you afraid of, sir? I know you wanted to say, come on up here and expose your fears to the world.
My fears of the world is that we don't listen to each other. Здравствуйте. Меня зовут John.
My name is John.
I'm a scientist and a retired physician. And my understanding of the Ukraine situation is that Putin feels like there's no partner in Ukraine or Europe to talk to. And I'm wondering if we can help him go over the heads of the European leaders. And so I have a question and a challenge. The question is, would Russians be willing to join with Americans in small groups and try to get conversations going at the European grassroots level and then help push the best ideas up to the decision makers? I think if we're going to keep our dialogue going, we really need specific projects. And with the internet, I think we have the capability of doing that. Thank you.
Okay, so let's hold on to that. Anybody else want to make a comment about fear? Or a gentleman who hasn't been up here yet. Come on up here, sir, and introduce yourself. And whoop, it's an obstacle course. You're going to get in good shape.
So first of all, Scott, thank you very much for organizing this. It's very good. I think you guys have asked some very good questions, both now and earlier in the day. By the way, my name is Will Keenan. I'm a retired metallurgical engineer. I'm Will Keenan. I'm a retired metallurgical engineer. My sense of the United States right now is that millions of people are scared of their jobs. They're scared of losing their jobs. They're scared of going bankrupt. They're scared of the companies that they work for going bankrupt. They're scared of their towns going bankrupt. The United States government itself is heavily in debt. So debt and fear of the consequences of debt, like what we went through in the Depression, is a major fear. That has to be connected to the importance of a peace agreement with your country. That's important. That peace agreement is very important to the American people. And it may not be for the reasons that we're all talking about in here, about things that we're very much familiar with, but it may have to do more with just our understanding that the last 45 years have brought very bad economic conditions for this country, which are actually getting worse. So I hope that, Scott, I want to thank you for this. Thank all your people for joining in this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Joe Lauria to come up for a second. Joe Lauria is a good friend of mine, but more importantly, he's the editor of Consortium News. This is one of the major alternative media outlets in America today to help get the truth to the American people. Joe?
Thank you. I've been a journalist for 50 years. I began with the New York Times as a stringer on my university campus, and now I'm the editor of, as Scott said, Consortium News, which is 30 years old, the oldest online independent publication. What do I fear? I fear the loss of the First Amendment in the United States, of the freedom of speech. Back in the 1985 Citizens Summit, Americans spoke proudly of the First Amendment then. That was a big feature. But it's a different situation now. Two things have changed: social media and independent media. And that has threatened powerful interests who want to control information. They are using now government working with private companies to try to shut down or hinder publications like ours. On social media, average citizens here in the United States are unable often to make statements about their views because government has worked with Twitter, now X, with Facebook, to remove their posts. I wrote an article about John F. Kennedy's 1962 American University speech in which he wanted the Cold War to end, and very much in the spirit of this meeting, he said that Americans should understand Russians are normal people and we have to put ourselves in their shoes. The article I wrote, he warned, do not humiliate a nuclear power. The article I wrote was a history of humiliation from Bill Clinton on, from the end of the Cold War, how the United States moved into Russia, how they acid stripped these formerly state-owned industries with a new rising oligarchy class. Putin came, put an end to that. The West still wants that kind of control. So what are they doing? In our case, we are simply trying to report the historical context of the conflict in Ukraine, and that is what they're trying to stop. They don't want anyone to know about the U.S. involvement in the unconstitutional change of government in 2014 in Kiev. They don't want to know about extremist groups like Azov Battalion, even though the mainstream U.S. and European media reported it back in 2014. Today, it's gone. So I am very fearful that going forward, something that we used to take for granted in the United States is slipping through our fingers because of a repressive state that doesn't want reporting that interferes with their interests. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to echo what Joe Lauria said there. People may realize this. In June of 2024, I was supposed to go to Russia to begin a 40-day tour of 16 cities where we were supposed to have dialogue like this. And my government took my passport away from me and denied me the opportunity to travel because there's suppressed freedom of speech. A few months later, they sent 40 armed FBI agents into my house to intimidate me from participating in this very kind of activity. So freedom of speech is so important to America, and I am afraid that my government's trying to take that away. So I share your fear. Now, indulge me one more thing, Pavel. You know, it's a father's greatest honor when he does something and his children want to participate. And I'm honored today that both my daughters are in attendance, but I'm even more deeply honored that one of my daughters has a question to the Russian audience. So I'd like to invite Patricia Ritter. She was the Peace Corps volunteer. She spent 2.5 years in the Republic of Georgia trying to work on peace, and she accompanied me to Russia in the winter of 2023-2024, and she met the Russian people, but I'm going to let her speak for herself. Patty, if you want to come up and ask your question.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. It's a real joy to see you all today and to have this opportunity to ask a question. First, a bit of background, very brief. Unfortunately, my generation, and I think those that came before me and those that will come after, are caught up in an environment in which dialogue and discourse is increasingly rare, and what little dialogue and discourse there is often characterized by a polarization of thought and belief, meaning that if you do not believe one thing, the assumption is that, well, therefore you must believe another, a very specific other. If you do not see things my way, then you must see things the wrong way. I like to maybe naively look at international relations in a more personal lens. What can countries do to prove their friendship? What can I do if I'm meeting someone and we have disagreements? What can I do in my power to make the person across from me or the room of people across from me more comfortable, and to show how earnest we are, both as a society but also as a nation, that we are striving towards friendship. So the question, I think, more concretely is, what can Americans, both as American people, but also what can our government do to demonstrate an earnest desire for friendship with the Russian people and the Russian government? Thank you.
Спасибо.
Thank you very much, Patty. So, Pavel, we've asked a series of questions, and basically we're asking Russia to fix these problems. It's on you, pal. We've identified the problem. What's the Russian solution?
Да, спасибо. Вы знаете, спасибо за вопрос.
Well, thank you for your question. I would allow to start to talk, and I would like to ask the audience then to add up things. But maybe you noticed that when we talk to you now, it seems like we have less of criticism, like for government and so on.
Вы знаете, не обижайтесь на нас
And
за
please,
это, потому что мне кажется, по крайней мере, вот с моей точки зрения, видимо, потому что я
please don't feel so aggrieved, don't feel
как отвечать, вся аудитория здесь фактически
offended.
это полный экспромт.
But I didn't collect this audience with some purpose. It's just exprompt, so to say.
Мы больше любим свободу
Talking about Russians, we like more freedom of action rather than freedom of speech. I'm not talking about everyone, but personal for myself. A simple example. What I mean by saying action rather than a word. Quite recently, near my home, the public road was, so to say, strongly destroyed by, so to say, by trucks. And we talked with my friend about this road. His name is Dima. I told him, Dima, it's very easy to do. We need to find a way how to write to the local, let's say, government. Please fix those roads, because they cannot watch over everything. It's just impossible. Our country is huge, and we have shortage stuff of human resources. Let's write something. And we almost argued with him on that, and I told him I'll do it myself. I moved to this road, and I recorded a video, and it was a kind of a and asking a question. Let's see what they will do, and the most important one. So it was quite a trenchant video, and I found an app called Decided Together. I loaded this video to this app, and they wrote the answer, and they said answer in 30 days. They answered in 20 days, and they wrote, already tenders are bid. We will fix this road this year, but before that, if we are able to do that, we will, if it's possible, we have built it, we will fill those, so to say,
бородатые, небритые мужчины.
We will fix those rents. We will fill them with pebbles, so to say. And there is such a joke in Russia that we see that the winter time people come and try to fix this road, and it's impossible to do it in the winter time. And I wrote to them that okay, let's fill those road ends, and I gave them 2 points of 5 for their answer, but in another 25 days passed. So in 45 days, together they fixed those road dents. So today, it happened yesterday. I thought, that's great. Just before the telebridge, I would tell the story. Sure enough. So the trucks, they fixed this road, they filled it. So it's an example of the civilian society. We just think that things are going wrong, not in a proper way, but what you should do, we need to do a first step. We need to pinpoint the problem. There's not a problem for us to write to the government. I'm serious about that. In our team, I mean, in our huge international team of this telebridge, there are people from the American side that they wondered that we can write to, let's say, our Prime Minister, Mr. Mishustin, and got an answer from him. And I can tell you, I wrote to him and I got an answer. So, and not many people here even know about that. So, in our culture, it's been, so to say, adopted such actions. And maybe we expect something similar from the States, that it's something in common. We wait for something, not words, but some action, some specific actions. Today, we made the first step. We organized this telebridge, and we're really grateful that there are people in America who thought that we need to do that. We made this joint project. It means that we all need peace, we all need dialogue, we all need international friendship. And that's why I think we wait from the American government very specific, concrete actions. It's my opinion. I'm not talking for all the Russians, actually. So, anyone else? So, since I am specialized in space, I would like to talk in a global sense. We made a project starting from the year 2000 with Americans, with American participation. There were participants from many countries, and among them there were Americans. These were projects in Antarctica, in transcontinental projects. So I'd like this year to remind you that the 17th of June, there will be 50-year anniversary of handshaking in space. These were a meeting of the American and Soviet space ships. These were those global projects. There were lots of stamps were issued in concerning this event in all countries. So the more we've got such a global events where people will talk always that Russian and Americans, Americans and Russians, Russian, Americans and Chinese, or with Africans. And if we spread this idea all over the place, we will talk about that in the UN, and I personally talked about that we're working on global projects, so let's continue to make those projects. That's what I'm calling for. Let's make joint, very so to say, loud, so to say, projects. Thank you. Okay, Scott, actually, we're coming to the end of our program, let's say, of our agenda, but at the end, I would like to talk a little bit about culture, and then we will give a floor once again to our audience to ask them, what they think, things which happened today, how it influenced you, how it affected you. Do you like it? So maybe should we continue with it? Are you okay with that if I ask a question about culture? Are you okay with that?
I think any kind of dialogue is good. I have to say, though, I think most people here caught on your story about how to fix potholes. And if you can come up with a solution to fixing potholes, you'll be a hero in America, and we will put a medal around your neck. But move on to culture. We could do that.
Спасибо. Так, у нас есть здесь
So here we have writers here, and I would like to ask a writer to ask a question to you. It's a culture-related question from a writer. So please introduce yourself.
Добрый день.
Good day.
Меня зовут Ирина
My name is
Фуллер, я
Irina Fuller.
писательница,
I'm a writer,
поэтому
and
мне хотелось
that's
бы
why
задать
I would like
вопрос
to
о
ask you
книгах.
a question
На
about
самом
books.
деле было бы
It
интересно,
would
чтобы
be
обе
great,
аудитории
actually,
ответили
that
на мой
both
вопрос.
audience, Russian and American, would
В
answer my
России
question.
принято
In Russia,
считать,
it is
что
a
мы
custom to
читающая
consider
нация.
that we are
На самом
reading
деле
nation,
цифры
so we read a lot.
показывают, что
But
количество проданных
numbers show
бумажных
that the
книг в
number of
России
sold
и в Америке
paper
на
books in
душу
Russia, in
населения
America,
не
per
сильно
capita,
отличаются.
are not
То
real
есть,
different. I
либо
mean,
Америка тоже
either
читающая
America
нация, либо
also
все мы
is
просто
a
мало
country
читаем.
of people who read, or we do not read
Расскажите,
enough,
пожалуйста,
all of us.
читаете ли
So
вы,
tell
что
us,
вы
please,
читаете,
do
что
you read
читают
books?
люди вокруг
What do you
вас?
read? What
Спасибо.
people around you read? Thank you.
Well, you're speaking to a writer. So I have a prejudice. I read a lot of books. I do nothing but read books, and every once in a while I write books. But how about the average American? Who here wants to talk about the role that books play in your life in terms of furthering your life? Do you buy books? Do you keep books at home? Do you have a personal library? Anybody want to tackle that one? Yes, sir. Come on up here. Just so you know, this guy's from CCI. He's one of those people that encourages Russian-American friendship.
Добрый день. Здравствуйте. Меня зовут Jeffrey Robinson. And with
Good day, my
regard
name's
to
Jeffrey
culture,
Robinson.
I just want to say that one of the greatest experiences I've had in the last several years was my wife and I reading War and Peace to each other daily. We read about 1 hour every day over a period of 3 or 4 months. It's one of the greatest works of literature, as you in St. Petersburg know very well, and most Russians know very well. And I just wanted to put in a good word for Leo Tolstoy and say that this is a great book that is very timely. It's something that in today's world, in 2025, everyone should read if they happen to have a few hundred hours up their sleeves. Спасибо большое.
Thanks. So we got an American who reads Russian, which is good. I encourage that. But how about the American authors? Yeah, are there any people who want to talk about American authors and the role that books play in your life? Is that what you're going to address, or come on up, sir?
When I was in high school, we read the classics. We read the Brothers Karamazov and Tolstoy. A little difficult. War and Peace was quite the read, but I enjoyed it. We all enjoyed it. We read Salinger and Tennyson and Longfellow. We read a lot of what they called the classics: Catcher in the Rye, Brave New World, Kurt Vonnegut. But today, I've been the president of the PTA in the county and in my town. I still have a child or a daughter who's in freshman, and the schools now no longer teach those. They teach mostly social issue books. They've switched over from what we would call the classics. And Americans may buy as many books as you do in Russia, but I doubt that our children are reading the same things. They're not reading what we would call the classics. They're reading more modern things. And even though I like people like James Howard Kunstler, who doesn't live far from here, there are good American authors. And I haven't read your book, but I see I've got a copy of it, and I'm going to ask you to sign it for me, Scott. I think that there's a big difference in you folks being an older country with more character. We don't have much. I certainly don't have any of that. You have a history that we don't. We're just a teenage country. We're still arrogant. And as far as literature goes, you guys got us beat by a long shot.
Thank you for that. I just want to say, though, in defense of America, because I'm American, I love my country, we have great writers. I mean, we have, Whitman, we have Frost, we have, who's that guy, Walden Pond, Thoreau, Hemingway, Steinbeck, The Grapes of Wrath. If you haven't read The Grapes of Wrath, you don't know America. That's the bottom line. We have great writers who have embraced what passes for American culture. And we have a great culture. But I think what you've pointed out is that we are slipping away from this culture. that what defined us at one time collectively through culture, through reading, is no longer the case. And I think we have to do a better job. Clay, Dennis Kucinich is giving me a look. You want to touch this one, Dennis, or do you want to come in later at the end? Okay, I'm going to bring it over to Dennis real quick because Dennis is the mayor. He's the congressman. He's the guy that knows the answers.
I don't know about that. Just first of all, an overall comment. I think that how many people here would like to see dialogues like this continue? And how many people of our Russian brothers and sisters would like to continue a dialogue with people from American communities like this? Pavlo. Okay. You know what? It's very interesting. The differences there is a difference between Russia and the United States on the matter of literacy. Russia has one of the highest levels of literacy in the world. It's like over 99% of the people can read and write. That's not true in the United States. We have a literacy level or illiteracy level, people who can't read and write, of about 20% at least. And that is shocking. And what it reflects upon is that education is not, we don't hold the same values of education that you hold in Russia. We just to give you a comparison, America right now is in the process of passing a new budget. And, and this is unbelievable, but in this new budget, over 51% of discretionary spending is going for weapons and the military. Over 51%. How much does that account for? $1 trillion. We don't speak of billions anymore. $1 trillion. So, our job in our society here is to see who we can learn from. And the great masters of literature and music and dance from Russia that are part of our lives. I mean, every community, I think, has the Nutcracker Suite at Christmas time. Every community. I think every child in America has heard the Nutcracker Suite. If you ask them where it comes from, they may not know. But Tchaikovsky had an enduring impact on America and the world. So I think that, what we're finding out here is that while we have a lot in common, there's a lot of work we have to do in our own society here in America to be able to bring our level of literacy up. And when we have that, we'll have more people being informed voters. We'll have more people being active citizens. We'll have more people understanding that they make a difference, and that the people who make the decisions on their behalf have to be held accountable. So, again, thank you for Scott and everyone who's here in attendance for their participation, and we need to keep reading. We don't have as many newspapers as we used to have in America. They've disappeared due to digital age. But those of us who understand our responsibility to educate ourselves know that we have to look for sources from wherever we can get them for information. So this is information today. Thanks, Scott.
Pavel, I know that, thank you. I know time is a premium, Pavel, so I'm going to turn this over to you. I just want to say again, thank you to Gerald Salante for hosting this event here. Thank you to Dennis Kucinich, Joe Loria, Garland Nixon, to everybody, Cynthia Puller, everybody who present, and thank you guys for putting this on. Pavel, over to you, and you can close out the show. Thank you.
Спасибо большое, Scott. Спасибо большое за ответы. У нас
есть... Scott, for your answers. We've got another surprise for you guys, a cultural surprise. Andrei Noskov is a great, well-known actor. He prepared a song for you in English. So, Andrew, please, the floor is yours. And we will tune up with camera here or there. maybe I will be with my back to someone of you. I'm really overwhelmed, and I cannot but say that out loud. Scott, in the very beginning, said that the freedom of speech cannot be, so to say, offensive. It cannot be. It's very important for our word. We cannot just spit words to each other. We cannot insult each other in the team with our friends, in the group with our friends, in the office, in the works. It's not right to just to spit, to insult without any grounds. It's not a freedom of speech. Thank you, Scott, for this idea, and it just resonated in me. And second thing, let's meet again, and I think we should talk more about each other. Tennessee Williams is very popular also in Russia, in theater. I played in The Catching's Right when I was a young actor, and we know your books quite well, your authors. We should talk about that medicine. And I reread Scott Fitzgerald in The Great Gatsby. If we read it, we'll know more about each other. Even we'll talk recipe of the Russian salad. We will talk more about it. We will know more about each other. And also, I was born in the Soviet times, where I said capitalism is so bad. It doesn't have a human face. Where they tried to, so to say, scare us. They told us that they do not have a human face. But the more we show human faces in simple talks, small talks, of course we mention some politics here, but the more we open to you, we are as we are. I made a very silly joke at the very beginning. It's okay from my point of view. And I think a man has a right for a couple of silly jokes, a couple of times a day at least. So the more we know each other, the more we hear each other, the better. And then for the American audience and for the Russian audience, I would like to give a short, so to say, preface. Pavel asked me to sing. I'm not a singing actor. That's right. It happens. I like American culture. I like American musicals, but I do not sing. And moreover, he asked me to sing in English, and I do not speak English. I'm sorry for that. So today, for you, but I thought, that's right, that's the case. But I thought, okay, Pavel and we're doing this bridge, we're making that step. And that means a kind of an effort to gather this equipment, to offer you together. And Scott, by the way, you are very popular in our country and all over the world. And I think these telebridges, they open up more truths on what we feel in our hearts here. And it's quite right idea. We just should meet more often. And what I thought, we're making that step, we're making that effort. So Andrew, let's do this effort from your own side. So in several days, I learned that I learned a little bit how to sing and learn a little bit of English. So, and it's my, so to say, first time. So please, can I have my music? Thanks a lot. And I think this music is quite well fit to my spiritual, so to say, to my spirit, to my, so to say, mood. So, can I have my music, please? Come on. So, okay, I'm having this pause.
It's for the way you look at me. Oh, it's for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. He's even more than anyone that you adore and love. It's all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart and please don't break it. Love was made for me and you.
As a proof of love, in my years of my university, I enjoyed the tap dance. It was a long time in my university years, so tap dance. it.
It's for the way you look at me. Oh, it's for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. He is giving more than anyone that you adore and love. It's all that I can give to you. Love, it's more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart and please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. Love was made for me and you. Love was made for me and you.
Мы вас любим.
Hey guys, Andrew Noskov.
Scott,
So Scott, you know,
пару комментов, и я
maybe
потом закрываю.
can make a couple of comments and then we'll wrap up then.
All right. Well, I mean, I'll do my best to tap dance my way through this. I wanted to say that besides that horrible performance, this has been a wonderful experience. I want to thank everybody again for coming. You know, this is the first step, and the first step is the hardest step. And sometimes it's not a perfect step. I'm sure there'll be people out there saying, oh, you should have done this, you should have asked that, you should have done this. Well, you do it. But we did it. You and I and everybody here and everybody there, we came together and we took the hardest step of all, the first step, a first step on a journey that will lead to better relations between the American people and the Russian people. And I want to remind people that we are setting an example. We are the adults in the room. We're the ones showing our respective governments how it's done. It ain't perfect, but damn it, we got it done. So, Pavel, I want to thank you. I want to thank your audience. I want to again thank everybody here, Gerald, Dennis, the whole crowd. Thank you. We make a first step on a journey of peace.
Thank you. Спасибо, Scott. У меня в завершении две вещи.
Scott, I have two things at the end. First of all, I would like to express the words of gratitude. You know, I cannot regretfully name all those people who were involved because they just asked me not to name them. And they know whom I'm talking about, but there are people whom I may mention. First of all, I would like to thank my wife and for all that support that she provided, because I worked on this project since September 2024. It was a very hard job, very hard work to do. Irina, thanks a lot for what you've done. Then I would like to thank our well-known journalist who helped us with criticism and advice. I wouldn't call his name. If he wants, I will make another record and mention his name. Then I would like to thank Andrew Karpilovich. He is here. He's the first person whom I first called and told him, Andrew, I have such an idea. Andrew, I have such an idea. And he supported me. He was not from first person, not from my family, who supported me. I'm really grateful for you. I think that for the first step, it is a huge result. Thanks a lot, everybody. Then I would like to thank my sister, Irina. Sorry for that. Sorry about my wife. My sister, Maria Kozhevnikova. Maria is here for all those efforts which she did from the point of view of connections and organizational issues. She did great support. Masha, thanks a lot. Then also we have here Paula Day, the president from the American audience. Paula Day is the president of the Association of Russian-American Relationships, which is called Citizens Initiative. And I wrote to Paul, I think, in November. I knew that this organization made 2 interviews with Vladimir Posner, and I wrote to Paula, said, Paula, I have such an idea, and she actually presented me to Scott Ritter. Paula, thank you, thanks a lot. Without that correspondence, it would never happen. Thanks a lot for you, for all your efforts, and all this journey on this way. I'm really overwhelmed, and I'm sorry if for those whom I didn't mention. Of course, Scott, yourself, is a very strong supporter and assistant. Paula wrote to me at night, Pavel, you should call Scott. He's ready. And I didn't speak English for a long while to talk with adults. I talked to my kids in English, but not to Scott. Maybe I should call Scott in the morning, but then I said, no, I should do it right now. I called him midnight Moscow time, and we had a 20-minute talk or 25-minute talk with Scott, and I reached my wife and told her, oh, I just talked to Scott Ritter, come on. And there was Scott. You're a huge person, huge name in our country, and it was great. So who else? There, maybe all of you, there were no hindrances, especially from the Russian side. There were no problems to make a tele breach. Everybody whom I mentioned this idea, people from different, so to say, levels, lower, higher, they all were supported. We made the step, made it together, Scott. Thank you. Thanks a lot. We did it, Scott. Let's applaud. Let's make a round of applause to everybody here, to you and to us.
We did it.
And we want to leave this room, but we have a melody called Radio Bridges. Igor Rybakov, our founder of the large technological company, Technical, he recorded a song. He made a song, Radio Bridges. We will play it. Let's say maybe you can translate it with AI, and it has great words about things we did together with you, and we must continue. We should continue, Scott. Thank you.
Так, нам на экран. На экран мелодия.
Great.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Знаешь, я твоих хочу коснуться рук. В них так много доброты, тепла и света. Сердце верит в чудеса, мой нежный друг. Мы ему не помешаем делать это. Твои письма мной зачитаны до дыр. Мои песни разлетаются по свету. Нас с тобой соединил прямой эфир. Между нами, между городами, твой мир, мой мир. Между нами, между городами, радиомосты, радиоэфир. Волны радио гуляют по земле, легкой поступью касаясь горизонта, где играет ветер песню о тебе. На горячих проводах высоковольтных только музыка спасает от тоски. Только небо расстояние сокращает. Я когда-нибудь коснусь твоей руки. Я ведь знаю, что иначе не бывает. Между нами, между городами, твой мир, мой мир. Между нами, между городами, радиомосты, радиоэфир. От меня ты так безумно далеко, и твой город умывается дождями. Только радио и фильм так легко отменить разлуку в поле расстояний. Между нами, между городами, твой мир, мой мир. Между нами, между городами, радиомосты, радиоэфир. Между нами, между городами, твой мир, мой мир. Между нами, между городами, мосты. Радио эфир.
Потому что ты починил российские дороги, ты понимаешь?
Я думаю, не только в Америке, в России в первую очередь.
И среди своего
Российские дороги — это именно